Chapter 1. Many, many days ago, Lin Jiej had wanted to say something to Shi Yao, but it was only many, many days later that he was finally able to say it. Shi Yao, and you are beautiful, Yi Fei's Shi Yao, and you are beautiful. It was already deep into the night. Shi Yao closed her eyes and tried many times to fall asleep, but she was unable to do so. In the end, she decided to give up. She reached for her phone by her pillow, pulled off her blanket, and walked over to the floor-to-ceiling window. Shi Yao stared at the night sky for a long time before she seemed to have made up her mind about something. She raised her phone, swiped the screen, and tapped into her contacts. She scrolled down the screen a few times, and her finger stopped on the name at the very end of the contact list, Lin Jiej. Shi Yao stared at those 3 words for a long time, and her eyes flickered for a long time. Eventually, she decided to press it down. She wanted to make a call, but before her finger could touch the phone icon, she froze. After a moment of hesitation, she finally chose to send a message. She typed on the keyboard for a long time before writing a message. Frowny face. Lin Jiej, it's Shi Yao. The reason why I'm looking for you is to tell you that we should call off our engagement. After typing these 2 sentences, Shi Yao didn't even bother to check her words before tapping on the send button. When the notification that the message had been successfully sent sounded, Shi Yao heaved a sigh of relief and lowered her head to look at her phone screen. It was already 2 in the morning. Shi Yao thought that Lin Jiej was probably asleep by now, so it would be the next day before he replied to her message. She stared at the message she had sent for a moment before putting her phone away. Just as she was about to head back to her bed to sleep, the phone in her hand suddenly chimed with a ding-dong. She instinctively raised her phone to take a look at the screen, only to see that Lin Jiej had actually replied to her message. The content was very simple, and it was just a single word, okay. Other than that, there were no other words. Shi Yao stared at Lin Jiej's message for a long time before her lips curled up into a smile. He must have been waiting for these words from her for a very long time. That's why he replied so decisively after receiving her message. With this thought in mind, Shi Yao lowered her eyes. A moment later, she tossed her phone aside, climbed back into bed, and closed her eyes once more. The next day, Shi Yao was woken up by a phone call. She was still a little groggy from her sleep, and it was only when she heard Liang Mumu's energetic voice on the other end of the phone that she finally snapped out of it. Yao Yao, let's meet at SKP later on. I want to buy some clothes, and we can head upstairs for hotpot tonight. It's been a long time since I've had their hotpot. After hanging up the call, Shi Yao took a look at the time and noted that it was already close to noon. She lazed around in bed for a while longer before climbing out. After washing up and having lunch, she tidied herself up a little before heading out. Liang Mumu and Lin Jiej were neighbors who had grown up together. Shi Yao only met Liang Mumu after she got engaged to Lin Jiej. Liang Mumu had a cheerful personality and a warm personality. Whenever there was good food, she would always share a portion with Shi Yao first. As time went by, the 2 of them grew closer and closer. Liang Mumu was a great shopper, and Shi Yao was a great eater. By the time the 2 of them were done with their shopping and dinner, it was already 10 in the evening, and it was about time for them to leave. Shi Yao hailed a taxi with her phone, and when the driver gave her a call to inform her that they were almost at the entrance of the shopping mall, Shi Yao and Liang Mumu left the restaurant together and entered the elevator. The elevator reached the 3rd floor before coming to a stop. The doors opened, and a group of young men and women walked in. The young man leading the group was tall and skinny. His skin was fair, and he was particularly eye-catching. Even though he was dressed in a simple white t-shirt, he still exuded a sense of exquisiteness. However, the most eye-catching thing about him was his appearance. It was breathtakingly perfect, and his facial features exuded an indescribable sense of beauty and cleanliness. Shi Yao recognized this extraordinarily beautiful young man. Chapter 2. Liang Mumu and Lin Jiej were extremely familiar with one another, so as soon as Lin Jiej stepped into the elevator, Liang Mumu immediately spoke up, "Brother Jia, what a coincidence. To think that we would bump into each other here." Lin Jiej replied with an before falling silent. The elevator fell silent for a moment. Seeing that Lin Jiej and Shi Yao weren't showing any signs of speaking, Liang Mumu spoke up once more with an innocent and perplexed voice, "Brother Jia, Yao, why aren't you two greeting each other?" Hearing Liang Mumu's words, Lin Jiej frowned slightly before turning his gaze toward Shi Yao. His eyes were indifferent, devoid of any emotion. Shi Yao felt a little uncomfortable under his gaze, so she moved her lips, intending to greet him to alleviate the awkwardness. But before she could say anything, Lin Jiej had already turned his gaze toward Liang Mumu and asked, "She is?" His voice was just like him, clear and refreshing, reminiscent of the sounds of nature. Yet, the words that came out of his mouth caused Shi Yao's hands to clench into fists. Liang Mumu didn't expect Lin Jiej to say such words either. She was stunned for a moment before exclaiming, "Brother Jia, you must be joking with me, right? How could you possibly not know her? She's Yao." Lin Jiej's face remained impassive. Liang Mumu spoke up once more with a slightly anxious tone, "Yao. Shi Yao. Your fiancé." "Your fiancé," those words struck Lin Jiej and the others like a bolt of lightning, and they immediately turned their gazes toward Shi Yao. In contrast to the astonishment of the others, Lin Jiej appeared much calmer. He fell silent for a moment before replying with a nonchalant "Oh." Then, as if nothing had happened, he retracted his gaze and looked at the elevator in front of him. Liang Mumu had already introduced Shi Yao as Lin Jiej's fiancé, but Lin Jiej still didn't greet Shi Yao. The atmosphere in the elevator inevitably became a little tense. Liang Mumu also didn't expect things to turn out this way. She stood beside Shi Yao, completely at a loss as to what to do. No one spoke anymore in the elevator, but everyone's eyes were still fixed on Shi Yao. Shi Yao knew that everyone was watching a show, and she also knew that Lin Jiej's reaction had embarrassed her. Nevertheless, she still tried her best to maintain her composure. Soon, the elevator reached the first floor. Barely after she opened the door slightly, Shi Yao turned to Liang Mumu and said, "Mumu, I'll be leaving first." After saying those words, Shi Yao didn't linger for even a moment longer before leaving in a hurry. Getting into the taxi, Shi Yao gazed at the bustling night scenery through the window as she replayed the earlier incident in the elevator in her mind. It turned out that Lin Jiej didn't remember her at all. But that was normal. They were betrothed to each other when they were still in middle school, and it had been 6 years since they found out about this marriage. In these 6 years, the number of times they met could be counted on one hand, and even when they did, the two of them barely talked. If she didn't remember wrongly, the last time they met was last year. So, it wasn't that Lin Jiej didn't remember her, but other than knowing that she had a fiancé named Shi Yao, he didn't know anything else about her. It seemed that what she had guessed last night was right. He had never wanted this marriage. However, it didn't matter. For some reason, she had already proposed to him to cancel the engagement, and he had also agreed. He and she would soon have nothing to do with each other. Chapter 3. Along the way, Shi Yao's phone remained silent. It was only when she reached home that her phone finally chimed. Thinking that it was Lin Jiej replying to her message, she quickly took out her phone, only to see an event notification, 11 p.m., Adonis livestream. Adonis was Shi Yao's Adonis, and he could also be considered as her idol. Most girls' idols were either movie stars or singers, but Shi Yao's idol was the current domestic esports player, Legend. Legend, when translated into Chinese, meant legend. Just as his name suggested, Legend's existence was a legend in the esports circle. 3 years ago, he broke into the public eye as the captain of AE team and clinched the CF National League Championship that year. AE was a brand new team, and it was because of him that they rose to fame. In August of the same year, Legend clinched the CF World Championship in New York, and his path to becoming a legend began. Under his leadership, AE team managed to clinch the World Championship for 3 consecutive years, turning from a new team into a powerhouse. Legend, on the other hand, went from a rookie to the current Sniper God King, Demon King, L God, and finally, Legend. In the past, the reason why people called Legend was because of his name. Now, other than his astounding achievements, there was another reason why people called him Legend. It was because he was mysterious. For the past 3 years, no matter when or where, as long as he appeared before the public eye, he would always wear a hat and a mask. Therefore, the information on him was as follows: Legend, male, name unknown, voice unknown, height unknown, appearance unknown, age unknown, sexual orientation unknown. In truth, Legend rarely live-streamed. The reason why he was live-streaming this time around was because TX had just released a new mobile game, PlayerUnknown's Battleground, and they had paid him a huge sum of money to promote the game. PlayerUnknown's Battleground, also known as PUBG, had 3 modes to choose from: single player, 2-player, and 4-player. The rules of the game were simple. 100 players would board the same plane and fly across the map. The players could choose a random location to land on, and after a certain amount of time, a safe zone would appear. The non-safe zone would be shrouded in poisonous gas, and if one didn't evacuate quickly, they would be poisoned to death. Thus, the objective of the game was to parachute, pick up the guns, kill, and outrun the blue circle. In short, the objective was to kill everyone other than yourself and your teammates, ensure that you were in a safe zone, and survive until the very end. In less than 10 minutes, Legend's viewers had already exceeded 1 million. Just like in the past, Legend didn't reveal his face or speak during the live stream. He spent the entire time playing the game. Even so, the bullet screen in his live stream room was still flooded with comments, and Shiryao watched the live stream with great interest. Legend's live stream ended in less than an hour, and Shiryao reluctantly exited from the live stream platform. She still hadn't had enough of watching Legend's live stream, so she replayed the exciting scenes a few times before picking up her phone and downloading PlayerUnknown's Battleground. Even though Shiryao had already gained an understanding of the game from Legend's livestream, she still wasn't able to kill as many enemies as Legend did when she tried it herself. In the first round, Shiryao leaped out of the plane. A second after she landed on the ground, she was shot to death with a pistol. In the second round, Shiryao barely survived 5 seconds after landing on the ground before she was pummeled to death. In the third round, Shiryao fell into the sea, and before she could even reach the shore, she was rammed to death by a boat. The fourth round, the fifth round. In just a short 20 minutes, which was more than enough time for Legend to finish a single round, Shiryao had already jumped 9 times. Chapter 4. Shiryao, who didn't have any gaming experience at all, chose 4-player mode instead of single-player mode in the 10th round. It didn't take long for the matchmaking to succeed. Shiryao took a look at her teammates' names. Number 1 was Juice, number 2 was 111,111, number 3 was Expert of the Monkeys, and number 4 was her. Her in-game name was Yao Loves Ice Cream. Since she couldn't rely on herself, she could only rely on her teammates. Perhaps, just like in the novels, she might be able to hug the thigh of a god and be brought to the top. Her imagination was beautiful, but reality was cruel. This was what happened in reality. Upon entering the game, Juice marked the military base. Upon reaching the marked location, Shiryao saw that her 3 teammates had jumped, so she quickly followed suit. Following which, she landed on an elevated platform. Following which, she jumped down from the elevated platform. Following which, her health bar turned red. Shiryao was dumbfounded for a full 10 seconds before she realized that she had fallen to her death. Are you sure Legend is playing the same game? Legend was playing PlayerUnknown's Battleground, and she was playing 101 Ways to Die, right? Shiryao's mental state was on the verge of collapsing. It was fortunate that she was playing in 4-player mode, so she could continue playing after her teammates came to her rescue. Unwilling to die just like that, Shiryao tapped on the voice chat and asked, "Excuse me, can anyone come and save me?" The entire room fell silent, and no one paid her any heed. Unwilling to give up, Shiryao took a look at the minimap and noticed that number 2 was the closest to her. Thus, she asked once more, "Number 2, can I trouble you to come and save me?" Before Shiryao could finish her words, 111,111, who was in the midst of picking up items in the house, leaped down from the window, got onto a motorcycle, and sped off in the opposite direction. She had already asked twice, but not only did no one come to save her, they even ran away. Humiliated by both the game and her teammates, Shiryao immediately backed out of the game. However, just as her finger was about to tap on the screen, a young male voice sounded from the other end of the phone, "Number 4 is a girl." Shiryao instinctively stopped what she was doing and turned to look at the screen. It was number 3, expert of the monkeys. Number 1, Juice, quickly spoke up as well, "Sis, how did you die?" Expert of the monkeys, "Sister, wait for me, I'm coming to save you." Juice, "Girl, I'm coming too." Before Shiryao could make sense of the situation, she saw number 1 and number 3 dashing toward her from different directions on the minimap. Along the way, the two of them were still bickering. "I found the girl first, so I came to save her." "I'm your grandson." "Grandson, how can you talk to your grandfather like that?" In the end, it was Juice who saved Shiryao. In the midst of the rescue operation, gunshots kept ringing in the surroundings. Shiryao, who hadn't had the time to pick up her gun and medicine yet, couldn't help but feel a little apprehensive. She couldn't help but say, "Why don't you just give up on saving me? I don't have any medicine or equipment. Even if you save me, I'll still have to." Before Shiryao could finish her words, expert of the monkeys had already tossed 3 first aid kits and 4 energy drinks to Shiryao's feet. "Sis, I have medicine. Take it all." "Sis, I have a gun." A second after, Juice saved Shiryao. He tossed an M16A4 rifle and some bullets to Shiryao's feet and said, "You still have bullets. I'll give you a level 3 military vest too. Level 2 military helmet and backpack." Shiryao was dumbfounded. She hadn't done anything at all, but she was fed fat by these two guys. Chapter 5. After Shiryao was revived, her 2 teammates didn't abandon her. Instead, they stayed by her side the entire time. "Sis, there's a level 3 backpack in this house. Come and pick it up. Sis, don't be afraid. Just lie down here and don't move. I'll take care of them. Sis, get in the car. We're going to outrun the blue circle." Just like that, Shiryao was forcefully dragged into the final circle by her 2 teammates without firing a single shot. However, she was still a newbie, and there were many things she wasn't familiar with, so she ended up dragging the team down. In order to protect her in the final circle, her 2 teammates died together with her. Since one of them was still alive, the game didn't end there. Shiryao tapped on the spectator button and switched to 111,111's view. It was only then that she realized that less than 111,111, whom she had neglected, had already killed 11 people. Who would have thought that the numeric teammate who ran away indifferently in the face of her pleas for help would actually be so formidable? But then again, his name sure was perfunctory. Less than 111,111, just as Shi Yao's thoughts were running wild, a notification appeared on her phone screen. Your teammate less than 111,111 eliminated Yi Fei's beautiful book with a 98k. Your teammate less than 111,111 knocked out You Have Big Breasts with an AKM. Your teammate less than 111,111 eliminated a watermelon cat hand's waist with a hand grenade. As these words flashed across Shi Yao's eyes, red numbers appeared on the top of her phone screen, and they kept jumping up and down. 11 kills. 12 kills. 15 kills. She in less than 111,111 had clearly seen the same scene, but why hadn't she noticed anyone at all? On the other hand, how did he manage to kill them with a single shot? Also, they were both heroes in the game and had the same amount of HP. How was it that when someone attacked her, she lost HP, while he ran around in the rain of bullets and didn't lose any HP? This less than 111,111 is a little too formidable. He's on par with my Adonis, legend. No, I'll never admit it. My Adonis is definitely a little more formidable than him. Just as Shi Yao's thoughts were running wild, the words chicken dinner appeared on the screen of her phone. Shi Yao blinked her eyes blankly. 2 seconds later, she finally realized that she had really been matched with a god, and she'd been successfully brought to chicken dinner. After returning to the main hall, Shi Yao, who had a wonderful experience in the previous round, was still thinking of continuing with the 4-player mode. However, before she could click on the match button, a dialog box suddenly appeared on the screen. Expert of the Monkeys has invited you to form a party. Without any hesitation, Shi Yao tapped confirm. After entering, she discovered that the other 2 teammates were 1111111 and Juice. Shi Yao was silent for 2 seconds before asking, "The 3 of you know each other?" Juice, yeah, the delivery is for my grandson. 1111111 is for my dad. The expert invited by the monkeys, F*CK off, you are my grandson. Just like in the game, the 2 of them started bickering again. During this process, 111,111 did not speak at all. It was only when the game started that, the expert of the monkeys, and Juice, finally came to a stop. Then, the expert of the monkeys turned to Shi Yao and said, "The 3 of us are from the same dormitory. 1111111 is the eldest, I'm the second, and Juice is the third." Shi Yao asked curiously, "Are you ranked according to your age?" Juice, that's not it. The eldest is the youngest, I'm second, and then Monkey. Chapter 6. Juice, grandson, you must have said something wrong, right? It should be my grandfather who's the noob, right? Expert of the monkeys, I didn't say anything wrong, but I did something wrong. I'm teaching Sun Wufang a lesson. Just like that, while expert of the monkeys and Juice bickered with one another, and 111,111 slaughtered their opponents like a maniac, Shi Yao played another 5 rounds with them and won 3 chicken dinners before she finally called it a night. Perhaps it was because she had enjoyed the game too much that Shi Yao didn't feel sleepy after her shower. She lay on her bed and entered the game once more. She received a friend request notification. Tapping on it, Shi Yao saw that, expert of the monkeys, and Juice, had sent her a friend request. Shi Yao accepted it. Expert of the monkeys was still online, and it didn't take long for him to send her a message. "Sis Yao, shall we continue playing tomorrow night?" Shi Yao replied, "Sure, thank you." After bidding goodnight to expert of the monkeys, Shi Yao still couldn't fall asleep. Recalling that, expert of the monkeys had told her that their dormitory room was ranked according to the game's overall ranking, she tapped on the ranking board. Shi Yao was dumbfounded when she took a look. First place went to Legend, her Adonis. He deserved the title. However, in second place, which was only 0.01 points behind the first place, was actually 111,111. In fifth place was Expert of the Monkeys, and in ninth place was Juice. So, tonight, just like in the novels, she was really matched with a god. Oh, no, it should be the god of gods. At this moment, in G University's male dormitory room 501, Lin Jiej had just finished his shower and was walking out of the bathroom in his pajamas when someone suddenly knocked on the door of his dormitory room. Holding onto a towel, he opened the door while wiping his hair dry. Lin Jiej, Qin Ran from our class asked me to pass this to you. It was Lin Yimu from the neighboring dormitory room, and he was carrying an exquisite pink bag in his hands. Lin Jiej frowned slightly, but he remained indifferent to the bag that Lin Yimu passed to him. Qin Ran is the campus belle. Boss, aren't you going to consider her? Lu Benlai leaped over and took the bag from Lin Yimu's hands. Lin Jiej's frown deepened, seemingly displeased by Lu Benlai's actions. After delivering the items, Lin Yimu didn't give Lin Jiej a chance to regret his decision at all. After bidding him a good night, he returned to the dormitory room next door. Lu Benlai closed the door, and as he opened the gift box, he spoke up once more. There are at least 80 male students in the school who are chasing after Belle Qin. I didn't think that she would actually kneel before boss's jeans. Ha! Campus Belle Qin is nothing. The neighboring film academy filmed a drama a while back, and all of the famous actresses sent gifts to our boss. Xie Shangzhou shot a sideways glance at Lu Benlai as if he was an ignorant fool. Campus Belle Qin gave boss a big bottle of paper cranes. There must be at least 1,000 of them, right? Lu Benlai took a look at Qin Iran's gift before turning to look at Lin Jiej, who was quietly drying his hair with his head lowered. The man's skin was so white that it glowed. It was more delicate than many girls' skin. Her three-dimensional facial features were exquisite like a painting, especially her eyelashes, which were long and curly, comparable to fake eyelashes. Chapter 7. Taking another look at Lin Jiej, Lu Benlai couldn't help but exclaim, "Our boss's looks are truly amazing." Putting aside Belle Qin, even I find it hard to hold myself back. Isn't that obvious? You should know that the greatest riddle of our room 501 is this: which is better, our boss's gaming talent or our boss's unparalleled looks? Lying on his bed, Xie Shangzhou said as he fiddled with his phone. A second after he said those words, he suddenly exclaimed in astonishment, "Wow! Xiao has accepted my friend request. Xiao has agreed to play with me tomorrow night." Xiao's voice is really pleasant to the ears. Even your game name is really nice. Yao loves ice cream, I'm expert of the monkeys. Our names are both 7 words long, what a good match. Lu Benlai, Xiao. Hee, are you close with her? You're already calling her Xiao. Xie Shangzhou, don't bother about me. She's my Xiao. Xiao, 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 Xiao. Yao. Lin Jiej, who had been silent all this while, suddenly froze in the middle of drying his hair. Perhaps it was because they shared the same character, but the image of the girl he had met in the SPK Mall's elevator after dinner with his friends suddenly flashed across his mind. She was short, skinny, and had fair skin. Her eyes were large, and her appearance was exquisite and beautiful. She was completely different from the scrawny lass he had met back then. If Liang Mumu hadn't told him that she was Yao, he would have never believed that she was the little fiancée his grandfather had forced upon him. Beside him, Lu Benlai and Xie Shangzhou were still bickering with one another. The dormitory room was usually this noisy, but for some reason, Lin Jiej found it a little too noisy at this moment. He casually tossed the towel in his hand onto a chair and walked over to the balcony. Everyone had their own attraction, and Xia Shangzhou's attraction was her voice. After bidding goodnight to Yao Loves Ice Cream, he reminisced about the game they had played that night, and the more he thought about it, the more he found Yao Loves Ice Cream's voice moving his heart. In order to play happily with Yao Loves Ice Cream tomorrow, Xia Shangzhou couldn't help but sit up. He turned to Lin Jiej, who had already climbed onto the bed, and Lu Benlai, who was still playing on his laptop, and said, "Tomorrow is Valentine's Day, and it just so happens that we're all single. Since we won't be celebrating the holiday together, why don't you accompany me to play with Xixiao tomorrow night?" No one spoke. Xia Shangzhou glanced at Lin Jiej before glancing at Lu Benlai. In the end, he chose Lu Benlai first and said, "Little Lai Lai, 200 renminbi, are you interested?" But before Xia Shangzhou could finish his words, Lu Benlai's voice had already cut him off. "Come." After dealing with Lu Benlai, Xia Shangzhou turned to Lin Jiej and asked, "Boss?" Lin Jiej remained silent. "Boss?" Xia Shangzhou called out once more, but Lin Jiej still didn't respond. He thought that the latter had fallen asleep, so he gave up and decided to convince Lin Jiej the next day. Xia Shangzhou lay back down on his bed, and just as he was about to close his eyes, the silent Lin Jiej suddenly spoke up, "I'm different from the two of you." Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai were taken aback by Lin Jiej's sudden words. It took them a moment to realize that Lin Jiej was replying to Xia Shangzhou's earlier words, "It just so happens that we're all single." Chapter 8. Xia Shangzhou, or are you no longer single, boss? The 10,000-year cycad tree actually blossomed. That university Adonis Lin Jiej, who is said to be able to make anyone fall asleep, actually has a girlfriend. Lu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou chatted for a long time, but seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't saying anything, they glanced at one another before asking in unison, "Boss, it can't be that the person you're looking for isn't a girlfriend but a boyfriend, right?" Lin Jiej opened his eyes and glanced at the two of them impassively. After which, he said nonchalantly, "What I mean by that is different from the two of you is that I'm a single noble, and the two of you are single dogs." The heck, they should have known that their boss would never say anything nice about him, given his habit of shocking the world with a single brilliant feat. Faced with Xia Shangzhou and Lu Benlai's displeasure, Lin Jiej calmly pulled on his blanket and closed his eyes once more. For some reason, Lin Jiej didn't feel like sleeping that night. He closed his eyes and lay down for a while before picking up his phone. After unlocking his phone, he saw that there were notifications on WeChat as well as messages. He tapped on WeChat first before tapping on the messages, and he saw that it was a message from Shuyao. "When do you intend to tell your family that we're canceling our engagement?" Lin Jiej's lips twitched for a moment before he raised his finger and tapped on the screen. But a moment later, he paused. There were only 3 messages on the screen. 2 were from her, and 1 was from him. "Lin Jiej, it's Shuyao. I'm looking for you to tell you that we're canceling our engagement." "All right. When do you intend to tell your family that we're canceling our engagement?" Lin Jiej stared at his phone for roughly half a minute before deleting the words that he had typed one by one. After which, he pressed the lock button on his phone and casually tossed it to the side. Closing his eyes, Lin Jiej couldn't help but recall the girl he had met at the SKP mall. If he recalled correctly, when his grandfather told him about the marriage, he vehemently opposed it, and she didn't seem to have much of a reaction. 6 years had passed, and in these 6 years, she had not expressed any opinion on this marriage. Why was it that after so much time had passed, she suddenly proposed to break off the engagement with him? The author said, "The new book for 2018 is here. I'm very happy to see you again. I have a lot to say, but I chose to keep it short. 1. Updated in advance so that everyone can understand the story earlier. Of course, there will still be an update at midnight tonight, but there won't be that many because you've already received the chapters at midnight in advance. 2. I hope that everyone enjoys reading this book. I hope that everyone will like the new story. It's slightly different from the previous style. It's slightly sadistic, but fiercely sweet. I'm really nervous to tell the story. I hope that it won't disappoint everyone. 3. Tomorrow is my birthday. I chose to publish this book at this time as my birthday present to myself. At the same time, June will be my 10th year of writing. I hope that you will accompany me into my 10th year, and our 10th year. 4. There's a pinned post event in the book review section. Everyone, hurry up and participate in it. Birthday wish for you to win the lottery, winning condition, vote for recommendation. Chapter 9. The next day was Valentine's Day. This was an important day for couples, but to Shi Yao, who had a fiancé, it was no different from any other weekend. It was her return to school. By the time she woke up, it was already noon. After washing up, she took out her phone and glanced at her message while she was eating. Lin Jiej still hadn't replied to her. Shi Yao's house was located in the suburbs of Beijing. By the time she got on the bus to Ji University after lunch, it was already 4 in the afternoon. Shi Yao's 3 roommates weren't from the city, and they were all single. Thus, on this day of dog abuse, all of them tacitly chose to stay in the dormitory. When Shi Yao arrived at the dormitory room, Ling Wan was in the middle of washing her clothes. Jiang Yu and He Tian were curled up on Ling Wan's bed, browsing through the school forum on their iPads. Jiang Yu, in this year's Campus Bell selection, the one with the highest support rate is still Year 3 Qin Ran. He Tian, Ling Wan's popularity rating isn't low either. We're all Year 1 students, and it's only been half a year since we joined the school. For Ling Wan to be able to garner so much attention, it goes to show how good-looking she is. With her hands still wet, Ling Wan popped her head out from the washroom. If Yao Yao allows you to use her photo in the competition, your support rate would definitely be higher than mine. Even if Yao Yao doesn't participate in the competition, our faculty already has countless suitors. If she participates in the competition, our dormitory would probably be filled with people every day. Jiang Yu said as she continued browsing through the forums with He Tian. Before Jiang Yu could finish her words, He Tian had already exclaimed, "Who in the world is that?" To think that his support rate is even higher than Qin Iran's. Qin Iran had been the campus belle of Ji University for 3 years now, and there was actually someone who could surpass her. Shi Yao's interest was also piqued. Hugging the freshly opened bag of potato chips, she rushed over to Jiang Yu and He Tian's side. He Tian happened to tap into the thread, and Shi Yao immediately saw the content of the thread. My vote for Ji University's most beautiful campus belle is for Lin Jiej, a Year 3 student from the math faculty. Lin Jiej. Shi Yao's hand froze. At the bottom of the post was a photo of Lin Jiej. The youngster in the photo was dressed in a white t-shirt, elegantly standing in front of Ji University's library. Most likely, this photo had been secretly taken by someone. In the photo, Lin Jiej's expression couldn't be considered to be too good. He was probably waiting for someone. His brows were slightly furrowed, and there was a hint of impatience between his brows. But even so, under the bright midday sun, he was still particularly eye-catching. "Ah, it's actually my Prince Charming." Accompanied by He Tian's excited exclamation, Jiang Yu began reading through the comments below excitedly. Lin Jiej is participating in the Campus Bell competition. Are you in the wrong theater? Who said that the Campus Bell must be a girl? There's nothing wrong with the OP, it's Ji University's Campus Bell. Lin Jiej. 66666, OP, I'll give you 100 marks for this maneuver. I'll give it to you even if I'm crossing the road. But to be honest, Campus Bell Qin is beautiful, but compared to campus hunk Lin, she seems a little weak. Jiang Yu suddenly paused after reading for an unknown amount of time. As if she had just witnessed something horrifying, she widened her eyes and stared at the iPad screen for a long while before stuttering, Qin. Qin Iran and Lin Jie are together. Chapter 10. The heck? Are you for real? He Tiantian's reaction was even worse than Jiang Yu's. It can't be, right? Even Ling Wan, who had never been interested in school gossip, couldn't help but speak up. Shuyao didn't say a word, but her fingers tightened around the bag of chips. It's true. Look. Jiang Yu pointed at the iPad screen and read word by word. According to an insider, Belle Qin and Adonis Lin are together, following which, Jiang Yu began reading the crowd's reaction to the news. My baby can't accept it. Senior Lin is mine. Nonsense, I'm Lin Jie's real girlfriend. Look at my ID, it's Lin Jie's little girlfriend. Nonsense, the real Mrs. Lin is here. I can prove that this news is true because Adonis Lin, who everyone wants to sleep with but can't sleep with, has accepted Belle Qin's gift. Heartbreak. Heartbreak +1. Heartbreak plus 10,086. Hearing those words, Shuyao slowly recovered from her daze. She blinked her eyes, and as if nothing had happened, she continued munching on her chips as she walked back to her table and sat down. Jiang Yu and He Tian continued browsing through the forums on their iPads. By the time there was nothing else to read, Ling Wan had already finished washing her clothes, and it was about time for dinner. The four of them changed their clothes and headed to the canteen together. After placing their orders, they found a table and sat down. Jiang Yu, who was on a diet, was the first to put down her chopsticks. She glanced at Shuyao, who was eating furiously in front of her, before glancing at the various dishes on Shuyao's plate. She couldn't help but rub her chubby tummy and say, I really envy Yao Yao. The first thing she does when she wakes up is eat, the first thing she does after class, and the last thing she does before going to bed is still eat. Even so, she's still so skinny that it looks like she's malnourished. Ling Wan, who had just finished her meal, also spoke up, speaking of how Yao Yao doesn't get fat no matter how much she eats. I suddenly remember her self-introduction during our first year. Nice to meet you, I'm Shuyao. My specialty is eating, and my hobby is eating too. He Tian swallowed her food and couldn't help but retort, Yao Yao, that's not a self-introduction. She's clearly trying to attract aggro, and it's a huge one at that. Before He Tian could finish her sentence, Jiang Yu suddenly stared at the entrance of the canteen and slammed her hand on the table in agitation. Hey, look. It's Lin Jie. Lin Jie. As soon as she said those words, Shuyao, He Tian, and Ling Wan immediately turned their gazes toward the entrance of the canteen. It really was Lin Jie. Because of his arrival, the atmosphere in the cafeteria became a little restless. Everyone's attention was on him. As if he didn't notice, he passed through everyone's line of sight and walked to the canteen window. After buying the food, he chose a seat near the window where there was no one else. The originally bustling cafeteria instantly became a little quiet. Chapter 11. Jiang Yu said softly, I've been in school for half a year, but this is the first time I'm seeing the famous Adonis Lin. He Tian whispered even more softly, he's much more handsome in person. Ling Wan whispered even more softly, no wonder there's a rumor in the pugilistic world that it's not easy for a girl from G University to marry after meeting Lin Jie. Shuyao, who had been Lin Jie's secret fiancé for 6 years, didn't have much to say. She lowered her head and continued eating. He Tian, the heck, what's going on today? First, it's Lin Jie, who rarely comes to the canteen, and now, it's Qin Iran, who rarely comes to the canteen. Jiang Yu, but the problem is, after Belle Qin finished getting her food, she headed straight for the window. Could she be looking for Adonis Lin? Ling Wan, Belle Qin has already sat down opposite Adonis Lin, and the two of them are even chatting. Jiang Yu, the two of them seem to be very familiar with each other. It looks like the rumors on the forums are pretty accurate. Tian, they're really together, and it's even on Valentine's Day. I feel terrible hearing this news. Shi Yao, who was just about to finish her meal, heard those words, and she couldn't help but raise her head to look at the window. A handsome man and a beautiful woman were seated opposite one another, and the crimson glow of the setting sun could be seen through the window. Two beautiful faces paired with a beautiful scenery was truly a feast for the eyes. Shi Yao couldn't help but stare a little longer. Perhaps it was a coincidence, but Lin Jiej, who had been silent all this while, suddenly raised his head and looked in Shi Yao's direction. Lin Jiej's action was so abrupt that Shi Yao couldn't react in time. Just like that, their gazes collided head-on. Lin Jiej's eyes were exceptionally exquisite. They were the kind of peach blossom eyes that were slightly tilted upward. His gaze was lazy, but there was also a hint of indifference and arrogance in between his brows. Even though the distance between them didn't seem too far, it felt as if they were separated by an entire space. His gaze didn't linger too long on Shi Yao's body. In the blink of an eye, his gaze had already drifted past her face, and he had already shifted his attention elsewhere. Shi Yao's heart skipped a beat under Lin Jiej's gaze. She quickly retracted her gaze, lowered her head, and swiftly gobbled up the rice in her bowl. After which, she turned to the other three roommates who were still discussing Lin Jiej and Qin Yiran and said, "Let's go," before standing up and leaving. It was only when Shi Yao reached the entrance of the restaurant that Ling Wan and the others finally caught up to her. Shi Yao pushed open the door and waited for her roommate to leave before following suit. The moment she closed the door, she looked back at the window again. Lin Jiej was seated at the dining table, leisurely and elegantly eating his meal. Seated across from him, Qin Yiran seemed to have overheard something, and she lowered her head with a bashful smile. Shi Yao stared intently at the sight for a moment, and when she heard Jiang Yu calling her name, she quickly lowered her head, closed the door, and left. On the way back to her dormitory room, Shi Yao earnestly went through everything that had happened over the past 2 days in her head. Chapter 12. So, the reason why he agreed to cancel the engagement so readily was because of Qin Yiran. That makes sense. He wasn't willing to honor the engagement in the first place, and now that he had a girlfriend, he must be even more eager to sever all ties with her. If that was the case, he must be even more anxious to cancel the engagement than she was. But why didn't he reply to the message she sent last night? Did he not see it? The more she thought about it, the more likely it seemed. She took out her phone from her pocket, copied the message she had sent last night, and sent it over to Lin Jiej. "When do you intend to tell your family that we're canceling our engagement?" Lin Jiej's mood was indeed a little terrible today. From the moment he woke up in the morning until noon, he had received over 100 messages and received quite a number of phone calls. They were all from girls. Some were confessions, some were gifts, and some were wishing him a happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. I don't even have a girlfriend, how the heck am I supposed to be happy Valentine's Day? Lin Jiej's head hurt from all the messages and phone calls, so he switched off his phone. The student union was holding a school anniversary event, and Lin Jiej was one of the organizers. The other organizer was from the art faculty, and he had already arranged to meet him at the canteen 2 days ago to discuss the event. Not too long after he arrived at the canteen, the organizer of the art faculty arrived. It was a female student. The female student sat down in front of him, and a second later, she said, "My name is Qin Yiran. Did you receive the paper crane that I had a friend bring you last night?" Paper crane. Lin Jiej pondered for a moment, and he recalled that there was such a thing. Chiniran, do you like it? Last night, Lu Benlai seemed to have said that she was the campus belle. But her looks weren't all that great. When did G University's attractiveness drop to such a level? Immersed in his thoughts, Lin Jiej didn't say a word. Faced with his silence, Chiniran didn't seem displeased at all. I folded it myself, and it took me half a year to do so, and this campus belle isn't any different from other girls. Lin Jiej frowned, and with a hint of impatience in his voice, he interrupted Chiniran. Student, I only have half an hour, so I'll have to trouble you to talk about something serious. Chiniran's expression froze. Lin Jiej thought that Chiniran would leave in a huff, but in the next second, a radiant smile blossomed on Chiniran's face, and she really began talking about the school anniversary. Lin Jiej listened attentively, occasionally expressing his opinion on the matter. Half an hour later, Lin Jiej ended the discussion punctually and left the restaurant. Returning back to his dormitory room, Lin Jiej lazily leaned against his chair and switched on his laptop to continue watching the movie that he hadn't finished in the afternoon. Just as the movie was about to end, Lu Benlai and Xie Shangzhou, who had gone shopping at the supermarket, returned. The quiet dormitory immediately became lively. Xie Shangzhou's timing was impeccable. A second after the movie ended, he turned to Lin Jiej and said, "Boss, I've bought the things you wanted from the supermarket. Can you come online now to play with me and Xiao?" "Oh, okay." As a man of few words, Lin Jiej replied to Xie Shangzhou with a single word before picking up his phone and switching it on. The phone rang for about 2 minutes before it finally quieted down. Only then did Lin Jiej unlock the screen and enter his phone. He casually clicked on the 99+ notifications and glanced at the unread messages inside. They were all confessions of all kinds from unknown numbers. Chapter 13. He casually clicked on the 99+ notifications and glanced at the unread messages inside. They were all confessions of all kinds from unknown numbers. Just as he was about to close the notification, he caught sight of a single word, Shuyao. She sent me another message. Lin Jiej hesitated for a moment before tapping on it. He saw a message identical to the one he'd received last night. When do you intend to tell your family that we're canceling our engagement? It seemed like she was really in a hurry to cancel their engagement. Lin Jiej stared at the screen with a frown. Boss, we're all online now. We're just waiting for you. Boss, why aren't you online yet? Boss, what are you looking at? Xie Shangzhou, who had been urging Lin Jiej several times, noticed that Lin Jiej was still staring at his phone screen, so he couldn't help but stand up and walk over to Lin Jiej's side. With just a single glance at Lin Jiej's phone screen, Xie Shangzhou exclaimed in astonishment, "Boss, which girl sent you a message? Why are you staring at it for so long?" Lin Jiej immediately snapped out of his daze, and he quickly closed the notification and opened up the game. "Boss, I didn't see the content of the message clearly, but I saw that you replied to that girl's message. To think that you would actually reply to a girl. Boss, what's your relationship with that girl? Or, how far are you two in your relationship?" Facing Xie Shangzhou's rambling, Lin Jiej shot him a sideways glance and asked, "Are you still playing or not? If not, I'll continue watching the movie." Play. Fearing that Lin Jiej would go back on his words, Xie Shangzhou ran back to his table and dragged Lin Jiej's account into the game. After dinner, Tian suggested watching a movie together. Recalling that she had a game date with Expert of the Monkeys tonight, Shuyao rejected Tian's suggestion. Ling Wan and Jiang Yu had no objections, so the three of them dressed up and headed out together. Shuyao was the only one left in the small dormitory room, and it felt a little lonely. Shuyao munched on an apple, and since she had nothing else to do, she logged into the game. Expert of the Monkeys, and Juice weren't online yet, so in order to pass the time, Yao chose to play solo. His fate was the same as last night, and he still ended up as a box. After 3 rounds, Expert of the Monkeys finally came online and sent her an invitation. Without any hesitation, Yao quickly tapped on the confirm button. Upon entering the room, Yao saw that Juice was already there. She waited for a while, but seeing that the owner of the room, Expert of the Monkeys, still hadn't started the game, she turned on the voice chat. She wanted to ask, "Why haven't you started the game yet?" But before she could say anything, Expert of the Monkeys asked, "Boss, what are you looking at?" "Boss, which girl sent you a text message? Why did you look at it for so long?" Chapter 14. After listening to Expert of the Monkeys' words for a while, Yao finally realized that Expert of the Monkeys was talking to the person beside him. Yao subconsciously opened her mouth and said, she wanted to say, "Are you guys busy?" But barely after she said a single word, another voice sounded from Expert of the Monkeys' side, "Are you still playing or not?" If not, Yao could tell that it wasn't Expert of the Monkeys' voice, but it was far more pleasant to the ears than Expert of the Monkeys. No, it was far more pleasant to the ears. It was so pleasant to the ears that she only managed to hear half of the voice's words before she froze in place. This was without a doubt the most pleasant voice she had ever heard in the world. It was clean and pure, with a hint of laziness to it. It was even better than the voices of handsome boys in anime. Even though it was just a few simple words, it made Yao feel as if she had bumped into a handsome young man in white on a warm summer's day. Yao really wanted to find other words to describe the voice she had just heard, but no matter how hard she racked her brains, that was all she could come up with. She had never thought that she, who had scored 138 out of 150 in the National College Entrance Examination, would only be able to describe that voice as beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Sis Yao. Sis Yao. Sis Yao, you're parachuting. Yao had no idea how long she had been immersed in that voice, nor did she know how many times Juice and Expert of the Monkeys had called out to her. All she knew was that by the time she came back to her senses, she was already floating in midair. Her teammates were 1,000 meters away from her. Expert of the Monkeys, did Sis Yao disconnect from the line? Juice, I think so. It's been a minute since the game started, but she hasn't landed yet. Hearing those words, Yao hurriedly replied, "I'm here." Expert of the Monkeys, that's great. Sis Yao, you didn't disconnect. But why didn't you jump with us earlier? We called out to you for so long, but you ignored us. Of course, there was no way she could tell them that her soul had been sucked away by the voices of the people around them. Thus, she hesitated for a moment before coming up with a reasonable excuse. "I went to grab something earlier, so I left." Juice, I see. Perhaps it was due to the fact that she was lying, but the words, "It's Juice," sounded very normal. Nevertheless, Yao still couldn't help but feel a little guilty. Thus, she hurriedly said, "You guys go ahead and pick up the equipment first. I'll look for you guys later." Expert of the Monkeys, Sis Yao, don't come looking for us. You're in a safe zone, so you should hide for now. We'll drive over to you. Only then did Yao realize that she was indeed in the safe zone. She replied with an "oh" before slowly descending to the ground and dashing toward a building not too far away. After she had picked up some equipment, she decided to hide in a corner of the house and wait for Expert and Juice to find her. Then, she slowly realized that there was an additional 111,111 in her party. Chapter 15. Yao suddenly recalled the words she'd heard back then, "Are you still playing or not?" If not, so, that beautiful, heavenly voice belonged to 111,111. Mr. Numbers, who was ranked second on the server's leaderboard, not only was he a skilled gamer, his voice was so beautiful as well. I wonder what he looks like. If he's really handsome, he'll be able to satisfy every girl's fantasies. However, before Mr. Numbers could say anything, Expert of the Monkeys said that he actually replied to a girl's message and even asked him what his relationship with her was. He doesn't usually reply to girls' messages. Then, is that girl someone he likes? While Shiyao's mind was wandering, her other 3 teammates arrived by her side. Just like yesterday, Expert of the Monkeys and Juice stayed by her side the entire time, giving her any good equipment and telling her to hide whenever she encountered someone. On the other hand, 111,111 acted as if Shiyao and the others didn't exist at all. He glanced left and right, as if he was playing a single-player game, looking for someone to kill. Under their lead, even though Shiyao wasn't able to get chicken dinner every single time, her chicken dinner rate was still as high as 70%. Time flew by in the game, and in the blink of an eye, it was already 11 o'clock at night. Shiyao, who had lessons at 8 the next morning, was the first to declare that she was going to sleep after this round. Other than 111,111's words before entering the game, he didn't make the slightest sound throughout the game. Shiyao thought that she wouldn't be able to hear his voice for the rest of the night, but she didn't expect that he would actually speak again in the final round. This was what happened back then. Shiyao and her teammates landed at Novorep Noi, and after picking up their equipment, they began running away from the blue circle. Expert of the Monkeys and Juice were still as mischievous as ever, bickering over the slightest thing. When Shiyao heard some hilarious parts, she would occasionally interject with a joke or two. Just as they were about to enter the safe zone, Expert of the Monkeys suddenly said, "Do you guys realize that Sis Yao's voice is getting better and better?" Juice swiftly replied, "Yes." Shiyao was a little embarrassed by the sudden compliment, so she didn't say anything. Expert of the Monkeys asked, "Boss, what about you?" Shiyao thought that 111,111 would remain silent as usual, but who could have thought that he would actually answer her, "What is it?" Shiyao couldn't help but turn her head to look at 111,111, who was standing not too far away from her, when she heard his cold and clear voice. With a 98K in his arms, he kept turning it around to look around. Expert of the Monkeys repeated his question once more. "Boss, don't you think that Sis Yao's voice is really nice?" Shiyao wasn't sure if it was just her imagination, but the instant Expert of the Monkeys finished speaking, she saw 111,111 glance toward the bush she was crawling in. However, in a short moment, he looked to the left. As his voice came from the phone, a gunshot rang out. That's it. Chapter 16. My God. Mr. Numbers actually managed to hit his target in one shot while he was speaking. In an instant, countless exclamation marks flashed across Shiyao's mind. Then, she saw 111,111 raise his arm once more, and another notification appeared on the screen. 111,111 eliminated. Homework, let's break up, with 98K. Expert of the Monkeys continued the previous topic. Boss, you must be honest. You'll be struck by lightning if you say one thing but mean another. Look, the red zone has appeared above us. Be careful that justice will descend from the heavens if you say one thing but mean another. Hearing Expert of the Monkeys' words, Shiyao took a look at the mini-map, and sure enough, the area she was in was covered in red. During the course of the game, such a red circle would appear from time to time, and it was known as the red zone. Within the red zone, a bomb would fall from the sky, and if a character were to be struck by it, they would be blown to death. This method of death was dubbed by the netizens as justice from the heavens. However, the chances of justice descending from the heavens were extremely low. 111,111, sneered in disdain. Then, he casually replied to expert's words while raising his gun once more. Do I have to say one thing but mean another? That's how it is. Just as Shi Yao was about to see 111,111's car 98K knocking out someone else on the screen, a gigantic fireball suddenly descended from the sky and struck 111,111's body. Following which, a notification popped up on the screen, less than 111,111 knocked out in the red zone. The four of them were silent for a full 5 seconds before expert of the monkeys and Juice's maniacal laughter sounded from the other side of the phone. Even though Shi Yao was too embarrassed to laugh out loud, her lips couldn't help but curl up. Expert of the monkeys, boss, I told you that justice will descend from the heavens if you say one thing but mean another. Look, even the heavens can't stand it anymore. Juice, I've already recorded this scene. Expert of the monkeys, please share it. Expert of the monkeys and Juice rejoiced in 111,111's misfortune for quite a while before Juice stood up from the bushes and prepared to help. But before he could take a step forward, another huge fireball descended from the sky, and then, expert of the monkeys, was eliminated from the bombardment zone. Its Juice was eliminated from the red zone. 1111111 was eliminated from the red zone. In the bombardment zone, Yao Loves Ice Cream was eliminated. At this moment, everyone in room 501 of G University's male dormitory was petrified. What was going on? The entire team was wiped out by the red zone. Recovering from their daze, Liu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou were just about to retort when Lin Jiej, who had been the first to die in the bombardment zone and had been ridiculed by them, suddenly spoke up, indeed. Those who speak against their hearts will be punished by the heavens. Liu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou were bewildered by Lin Jiej's words, and they quickly turned their gazes toward Lin Jiej. P.S. 1. Let me ask you, do you like this male protagonist who is so unreasonable and straight to the point? Chapter 17. So, Lin Jiej intentionally paused for a moment before continuing unhurriedly. You said that her voice was pleasant because you weren't speaking from your heart. Liu Benlai pointed a trembling finger at Lin Jiej. You? Xia Shangzhou smashed his phone onto the floor in shock. Facing the two speechless fools, Lin Jiej calmly exited the game and tossed his phone aside. Then, he stood up and rubbed his aching neck while grabbing a towel and pajamas by the side before leisurely making his way to the bathroom. As soon as he closed the bathroom door, just as Lin Jiej had expected, Liu Benlai and Xia Shangzhou's cries echoed from the dormitory room. The heck, did I take the wrong script? Didn't we say that we're going to mock our boss? Why did it turn into mocking me instead? Who's the scriptwriter? Drag her out and beat her to death. Sis Yao, listen to my explanation. I definitely didn't mean what I said from my heart. I just think that your voice is pleasant. On the other end of the phone, Shi Yao heard the conversation between her three teammates loud and clear. Amidst expert of the monkeys and Juice's frantic explanations, her lips couldn't help but curl up. That cold and reticent god of gods actually had such a venomous mouth. It seemed like everything she had seen was just an illusion. The real him was definitely a vengeful person. Otherwise, he wouldn't have seized the opportunity to retaliate against expert of the monkeys and Juice. After ending the game for the night, Shi Yao didn't immediately exit the game because she saw a private message from expert of the monkeys. Sis Yao, are you still playing tomorrow night? Yao Loves Ice Cream, I'm playing, but I'm not too sure when. Last week, she had promised Liang Mumu that she would go shopping with her tomorrow afternoon, so she wasn't sure when she would be free. Expert of the monkeys, you're not sure. Expert of the monkeys, I won't be able to read your messages if I don't log into the game. How about this? If you don't mind, I'll add you into our team. After joining our team, you can click on the team chat group. When the time comes, you'll be able to enter the team's WeChat group. This way, whenever you want to play the game, just look for us in the group. Yao loves ice cream, sure. Playing with them was simply too much of a gaming experience. Sure, Yao couldn't resist the temptation. Soon, a notification popped up in the game. Expert of the monkeys has invited you to join the Sexy and Frisky team. This team name, Sure Yao hesitated for a moment before accepting the invitation. After which, she followed Expert of the monkeys' instructions and joined the battle team group. Soon, a DD notification sounded from her WeChat. Sure Yao tapped into WeChat and saw that it was a message from the Sexy and Frisky WeChat group. Juice, welcome, Sis Yao. Expert of the monkeys, welcome, Sis Yao. Tide, who is Sis Yao? Chapter 18. As their WeChat and game names were the same, Sure Yao was able to recognize them easily. Even though it was called a team chat, there were only 5 people in it, including her. 111111 was there, but he didn't say a word. Tide, Sure Yao didn't recognize the name, so she subconsciously typed, Tide is Expert of the monkeys, he's from our dorm, but he doesn't play PUBG. However, he's no longer staying in the dorm either. He found a girlfriend and moved out, so his bed became Juice's cloakroom. Sure Yao was only curious about who Tide was, so she didn't expect Expert of the monkeys to provide such a detailed explanation. She intentionally added a few more words in her reply. Oh, I see. After sending that message, Sure Yao couldn't help but ask, why did you guys choose such a... Sure Yao intentionally used an ellipsis to find a suitable adjective and continued typing on her phone's keyboard. An indescribable team name. Juice, oh, our boss came up with it. Expert of the monkeys, when we were forming the team, Juice said that we had to come up with a flamboyant name. Tide, Expert said that we had to come up with a flamboyant name, so our boss, as the team leader, came up with the name, Flamboyant and Flamboyant. Sure Yao's face was filled with but she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. What a flamboyant and flamboyant. She knew that 111,111 was a god among gods, but she didn't think that he would be such a god among gods. After joining the WeChat group, everyone knew each other's WeChat ID. So, it didn't take long for Sure Yao to receive friend requests from the other 3 players, excluding 111,111. Sure Yao didn't reject them and accepted their friend requests one after another. Perhaps it was because her Adonis was legend, so she was a little interested in any man who was a good gamer. Even though 111,111 didn't take the initiative to add her as a friend, out of curiosity, she still went to look for 111,111 in the WeChat group. In truth, she was wondering if she could take a look at 111,111's moments page. But right after she clicked on 111,111's profile picture, before she could even take a look at 111,111's WeChat page, the dorm room door was pushed open, and He Tiantian's voice sounded, Yao Yao, we're back from the movie. We even brought supper, midnight snack. Sure Yao abruptly tossed her phone aside and charged toward He Tiantian. The next day, the first thing Sure Yao did when she woke up was to ask her roommates which canteen they were going to eat at. But after washing up, before the 4 of them set off for the canteen, Sure Yao still whipped out her phone and took a look at her message. Lin Jiej continued to ignore her. She had sent him 2 consecutive messages, but he wasn't replying at all. Could it be that he didn't see it, or... Xiao pondered for 3 seconds, but she still didn't think that he had seen it. She instinctively wanted to copy, paste, and send a message to Lin Jiej once more, but she soon realized that it wouldn't be good to send too many messages to him. There were 4 classes in the morning. When school ended, Liang Mumu was already waiting at the entrance of Ji University in her little red sports car. Before going shopping, Xiao suggested that they go for lunch. Chapter 19. After lunch, Xiao accompanied Liang Mumu to shop around the mall for a while. Then, when Liang Mumu said that they were going to rest for a while, Xiao, who had been asking Liang Mumu, "Is it nice?" along the way, only nodding her head in response, immediately suggested that they head to the 2nd floor for dessert. Knowing that Xiao's specialty and hobby were eating, Liang Mumu shot Xiao "I really don't know what to do with you" gaze before heading to the 2nd floor with her. While they were eating dessert, Liang Mumu and Xiao chatted for a while, and the topic eventually drifted to Lin Jiej. "Yao, did you get into some kind of conflict with Brother Jia?" Xiao, whose mouth was stuffed with food, was taken aback by Liang Mumu's abrupt question. It took her a while before she shook her head, indicating that she didn't. There was no conflict between her and Lin Jiej in the first place. Other than the betrothal arranged by her grandfather's generation, there was no other interaction between them, so how could there be a conflict between them? There's no conflict. Liang Mumu furrowed her meticulously drawn eyebrows as a hint of incomprehension flashed across her eyes. Yao, you and I are best friends. You can't lie to me like that." After swallowing the food in her mouth, Xiao replied earnestly, "I'm not lying to you. There really isn't any conflict between us." "Then why didn't you greet him that day at SKP? Why did he pretend not to know you?" Liang Mumu asked as she tilted her head in contemplation. Then, seemingly having guessed the reason behind it, she asked, "Could it be that the 2 of you are playing some kind of special game?" "Special your head." Due to the food in her mouth, it wasn't convenient for Xiao to speak. Thinking that her guess was correct, Liang Mumu remarked, "I didn't expect the 2 of you to be so creative." "But Yao, it was Valentine's Day yesterday. Did Brother Jia celebrate it with you? Tell me honestly, did Brother Jia give you a huge Valentine's Day present? What was it? Brother Jia's family is so rich, so he must have given you something good, right? A watch? A bag? Shoes? Clothes? Was there a huge bouquet of roses too? What color were the roses? Pink or red?" Yao, under Liang Mumu's relentless interrogation, Xiao had no choice but to stop eating. Valentine's Day. When had she ever celebrated Valentine's Day with Lin Jiej? As for gifts, they had known each other for so many years, but he had never even treated her to a bottle of mineral water, a lollipop, or a bag of spicy sticks. Not to mention a bag, shoes, clothes, a watch, or a rose. But those things were not as attractive as lollipops, mineral water, and spicy sticks. With such thoughts in mind, Xiao gazed at Liang Mumu sternly and asked, "Mumu, are you sure that the Brother Jia you speak of is Lin Jiej?" "Of course. Other than Brother Jia, have you ever seen me call anyone else Brother Jia?" Chapter 20. Helpless, Liang Mumu rubbed her temples and said with a harsher tone, Yao, can't you talk to me more seriously? I'm going to get angry." Actually, she wasn't just brushing her off. Her attitude earlier was really serious. Xiao was silent for a moment before she raised her eyes to look at Liang Mumu and said earnestly, "Mumu, I'm going to call off my engagement with him." "What?" Liang Mumu looked as if she had been shocked by Xiao's words. Her entire body froze on the spot. A long while later, as if she still couldn't understand what Shi Yao was talking about, she asked once more, Yao Yao, what did you say? What do you mean by calling off our engagement? That's right. I'm going to call off my engagement with Lin Jiej, Shi Yao replied frankly. Shi Yao's tone was very calm, and it didn't seem like she was joking. Liang Mumu stared at Shi Yao for a very long time, and after a moment of contemplation, she finally moved her lips. Yao Yao, do you know what you just said? Shi Yao nodded. Of course I do. Liang Mumu, was Brother Jia the one who suggested it? Does Grandpa Lin know about it? If Grandpa Lin were to learn of it, Brother Jia would surely get pummeled again. Shi Yao shook her head. He wasn't the one who suggested it. I was the one who suggested it. I'll tell Grandpa Lin that I don't want to marry him, so Grandpa Lin won't blame him for this. Liang Mumu exclaimed in shock, you suggested it. Shi Yao replied with an A moment later, she added, actually, I didn't want to mention him in front of you not because I'm trying to hide the matter between us, but because there really isn't anything between us. Mumu, do you know? I can count the number of times I've met him with my fingers since I first found out about this child marriage, and the time we've met is less than an hour. To tell you the truth, he wasn't pretending to not know me at SKP that day. He really doesn't know me at all. Liang Mumu listened to Shi Yao speak for a long time before asking, so, that's why you called off your engagement with him? That's not it. Then what's the reason? Shi Yao lowered her head, and a faint blush crept onto her cheeks. It's a secret. There was no way that Liang Mumu would let this matter rest, but even after interrogating Shi Yao for a very long time, Shi Yao still didn't seem to have the slightest intention of revealing the truth. In the end, Liang Mumu could only give up. In the past, when Shi Yao went shopping with Liang Mumu, she would always end up in a daze. But this time, after they were done with dessert, Liang Mumu actually suggested sending her back to school. Shi Yao casually asked Liang Mumu why she wasn't shopping anymore, but Liang Mumu said that she wasn't feeling well. Shi Yao could tell that Liang Mumu was lying, but she didn't expose her. She thought that Liang Mumu had something that she didn't want her to know, so she allowed her to send her back to school. After dinner, Shi Yao took a look at her messages. Lin Jiej still hadn't replied to her message. Since she had nothing else to do, she exited the messaging app and opened WeChat. She went to the Sexy and Frisky group and sent a message. Does anyone want to play? As soon as the message was sent, her phone vibrated in her palm. Then, she heard the notification of a text message. Shi Yao quickly tapped on the message. It was Lin Jiej, who she had been waiting for several days for, replying to her message. Chapter 21. It was a message from Lin Jiej, whom she had been waiting for several days. Are you free? Was what was supposed to come finally coming? Is he looking for me to talk about the annulment of our engagement? Shi Yao immediately tossed the matter of her game invitation to the Sexy and Frisky WeChat group to the back of her mind and began typing on her keyboard to reply to Lin Jiej's message. She had only pressed a Y when a new message popped up on her phone screen. It was still from Lin Jiej. If you're free, let's meet in the forest behind G University's male dormitory in 20 minutes. Is he planning to talk to me in person? Actually, there's no need for that. He can just arrange a time for me to return to the Lin family's old mansion together to clear things up with Grandpa Lin. Even though Shi Yao felt that there was no need for that, she still wanted to resolve this matter quickly. Thus, she deleted the pinyin she had just typed and typed a new word over, all right. Lin Jiej didn't reply to her message. Holding onto her phone, Shi Yao sat there with her mind blank for a moment before she took out her clothes from her closet and changed into her pajamas. He Tian, who was in the midst of catching up on her anime, asked casually, Yao Yao, are you going out? Hearing He Tiantian's voice, Jiang Yu, who was painting her toenails on her bed, raised her head and asked, Yao Yao, it's already late. Where are you going? Shi Yao was about to say that she had a date with someone, but the words stopped in her tracks. There were plenty of people asking her out on a regular basis. If she were to tell the three of them about it, they would probably follow her around to join in the fun. The situation with the person she was meeting this time was a little special. Shi Yao pondered for a moment before changing her words. I'm going to the supermarket to buy something. Jiang Yu, help me buy a yogurt cake from the supermarket then. I'll have it for breakfast tomorrow. He Tian, I want one too. Jiang Yu, Ling Wan isn't around, but we don't have any classes tomorrow morning, so we definitely won't be able to have breakfast at the canteen. Yao Yao, you should buy one for her too. Shi Yao replied with an all right before putting on her shoes and leaving the dormitory. After walking out of the dormitory, Shi Yao glanced at her phone and saw that there were still 5 minutes before her appointment with Lin Jiej. As the school's cake shop was located in a different direction from the forest, Shi Yao decided to head to the cake shop first before heading to the forest with 4 servings of cakes. By the time she arrived, 20 minutes had already passed, but Lin Jiej was still nowhere to be seen. She stood there and waited for a while. She didn't know how much time had passed, but it wasn't long anyway. She heard footsteps coming from afar. She looked up and saw a young man in a white hoodie walking towards her. Compared to the leisurely and carefree attitude when she saw him in the past, his footsteps were slightly hurried now. Was he in a hurry because he was late? However, he seemed to like wearing white very much. In her memory, although she didn't see him many times, every time she saw him, he would wear white. While Shi Yao was deep in thought, Lin Jiej had already stopped roughly half a meter in front of her. Shi Yao quickly snapped out of her daze, and in the next moment, she heard Lin Jiej's voice crashing down from above. What in the world are you doing? His voice was pleasant, but his tone was a little heavy. It was completely different from the cold and indifferent tone he had used the last time they met in the SPK elevator. Was he unhappy? Chapter 22. Due to the dim lighting in the forest, Shi Yao wasn't able to see his expression clearly as he walked toward her with his back facing the light. At this moment, he was already very close to her. Through the dim light from the street lamps, she could see that his complexion was awful. Didn't he invite me out to discuss the annulment of the engagement? He should be very happy to be together with Belle Qin. Unable to make sense of the situation, the frown on Shi Yao's forehead deepened. Clearly, Lin Jiej was running out of patience. Before Shi Yao could speak, he had already spoken once more, and his tone was just as vile as before. I really couldn't tell that you're such a schemer. You sure are a schemer. One thing on the surface. One thing on the surface. Schemer. What the heck is going on here? Shi Yao was so confused that even her voice sounded a little dazed. Can't you speak more clearly? I don't really understand what you're trying to say. Don't understand. Lin Jiej seemed to have been angered by her words, and he sneered, don't try that on me. I think you're just feigning ignorance, aren't you? On one hand, you sent me a message saying that you want to annul your engagement with me, and on the other hand, you ran to my grandfather to complain about me. I've never seen anyone as shameless as you. It was true that she had sent him a message saying that she wanted to annul her engagement with him, but to tell her grandfather about it. She hadn't met Grandpa Lin at all ever since the spring festival, so how could she possibly complain about him? Are you sure you're not mistaken? I've never met Grandpa Lin before, so how could I possibly complain to him? Still pretending. Grandpa already told me that you were the one who cried and said that I wanted to annul my engagement with you. Lin Jiej recalled how he had been playing basketball that afternoon when he had received a call to return home. Then, as soon as he stepped through the door, before he could even say a word, his grandfather had thrown a teacup at him and berated him harshly. In that instant, the rage in his heart flared up even more. If you don't want to annul your engagement with me, you shouldn't have sent me that message. What's the point of being so fake? Or could it be that you did it on purpose to attract my attention so that you could play hard to get? Let me tell you, there are a lot of girls who do this to me, but you're the only one who does it and makes me feel disgusted. Lin Jie's words were getting more and more overboard, and Shuyao couldn't help but recall how Grandpa Lin had reacted 6 years ago when she was brought into the luxurious Lin family old mansion. Grandpa Lin had pointed to her, who was dressed in a simple robe, and said to Lin Jie, who was dressed in a luxurious robe, "Jie, allow me to introduce you. This is your fiancé, Shuyao." At that time, he was only 15 years old, and there was still a hint of immaturity between his beautiful and exquisite brows. At that time, he was so good-looking that she felt like she was looking at a doll in a shop window. She liked him very much. At that time, all her attention was on him. However, after Grandpa Lin had introduced her, his reaction had deeply hurt her. It was as if he had seen the most disgusting garbage. He opened his mouth and said to Grandpa Lin, "I don't want it. This ugly, dirty and shabby little girl, I don't want her to be my fiancée." Of course, after he said those words, he was inevitably reprimanded and beaten up by Grandpa Lin. Grandpa Lin was from the army, and his blows were heavy. But when he was being beaten, he didn't even make a sound. Chapter 23. Disdain, disgust, and hatred. Even though she was only 13 back then, she could still read his thoughts from his eyes. He hated her, a very hateful kind of hateful. It was then that she realized that there was a gap between them. As she grew older, she realized that it wasn't just a gap between them, but a world of difference. The two of them belonged to two different worlds. He came from a wealthy family whereas she came from an ordinary family that was bordering on poverty. If not for the engagement between her grandfather and his grandfather back then, it would have been impossible for the two of them to meet at all. Even though her family didn't starve her, they didn't provide her with good living conditions either. As a result, she was thinner than the average person, but she wasn't ugly either. Unlike him, she couldn't wear expensive and beautiful clothes every day. Most of her clothes were leftovers from her relatives' older sisters. They were a little old, but they weren't dirty. As for her shabbiness, it must be said that those words of his had deeply wounded her young pride. So, even though he eventually agreed to the engagement under his grandfather's coercion, she didn't take the initiative to talk to him just because she was his fiancée. Even though they were in the same school, she didn't mention their relationship to anyone else. Even the red packet money that Grandpa Lin gave her during the Chinese New Year, she didn't touch it at all. Recalling these past events, Shuyao couldn't help but purse her lips. She didn't know what went wrong, but she wasn't willing to stand here and allow him to malign her, and she didn't want to argue with him either. So, she chose to turn around and leave without saying a word. Her actions only served to stoke the flames of fury in Lin Jie's heart. She was the one who caused this mess, and yet she was still thinking of walking away as if nothing had happened. With such thoughts in mind, Lin Jie abruptly reached out to grab Shuyao's wrist. Shuyao was in a hurry to leave, so Lin Jie's hand ended up grabbing onto the bag she was holding. His strength was so great that it tore the bag apart, and the 4 pieces of cake inside fell to the ground, stained with mud. Shuyao froze as she lowered her gaze to look at the cake on the ground. "You can't even eat the cake anymore." Shuyao also felt a little angry. She couldn't help but clench her fists tightly. She stared at the cake on the floor for a long while before she finally raised her head and glared at Lin Jie furiously. "I'm telling you one more time. I didn't go to look for Grandpa Lin, and I didn't report you either. I don't have any intention of playing hard to get. Also, don't be so narcissistic as to think that everyone likes you. I don't like you at all. I never thought of marrying you. So, don't go overboard. Be careful. Shuryao had always been an obedient child, so she rarely scolded others. She racked her brains for a very long time before she finally came up with a sentence that she felt was particularly overboard. Be careful not to starve to death. Also, did you see the messages I sent you in the past 2 days? Do you want me to repeat them for you? As she spoke, she repeated the contents of the message. When do you intend to tell your family that we're canceling our engagement? So, can you please give me an exact time today? Don't think that I don't know that you have a girlfriend. Since you already have a girlfriend, do you think that it's a good idea for you to maintain such a meaningless relationship with me? Do you think that you can treat her well? Chapter 24. Narcissistic to the extent that you think that everyone likes you. Narcissistic. You must be joking. Do I need to be narcissistic? And a girlfriend. What the heck is this? When did I have a girlfriend? For some inexplicable reason, Lin Jiej felt even more displeased that his girlfriend had been taken away from him. However, he didn't think too much about why he felt even more displeased. He simply thought that it was because she was mocking him for his narcissism, and in the next second, he said, "What a coincidence, I'm the same as you. I don't like you at all. So, I'll have to trouble you to stop sending me fake messages every day asking me when I'm going to talk to my family about canceling the engagement. You might be anxious, but I'm even more anxious than you are. Today, I'll make my words clear to you. Listen carefully. I, Lin Jiej, do not want to cancel my engagement with you. Will write my name upside down." Lin Jiej paused for a moment, and as if he still felt that it wasn't enough, he gritted his teeth and said, "It's too late now. Tomorrow morning, I'll bring you home to have a showdown with grandfather." After saying those words, Lin Jiej turned around and left, as if he didn't want to stay any longer. Lin Jiej's footsteps were swift, and it didn't take him long to walk out of the small forest. Then, he stopped by the roadside of the campus path. Girlfriend. What right does she have to call me a girlfriend? The more Lin Jiej thought about it, the more uncomfortable he felt. In fact, he even had the urge to rush back into the forest to question her. But in just a few short seconds, he realized that there was something wrong with his actions. How strange. Why would he have such an urge? She could say whatever she wanted to say, so why should he be so bothered by it? Lin Jiej's lips tightened as he fell into deep thought. A dazed look appeared on his face for a moment before he finally recovered and strode away. After Lin Jiej left, Shuryao stared at the cake on the ground for a long while before she finally picked up the trash and walked out of the small forest. Reluctantly, she threw the cake into the trash can by the roadside. She stared at the trash can and sighed deeply before turning around to head back to her dormitory. But after taking 2 steps, she couldn't help but turn around to look at the trash can once more. Even though Shuryao had taken a detour to the cake shop to buy 4 more cakes, she still felt stifled when she returned to her dormitory room. It took her quite a while before she picked up her phone. Only then did she realize that she had a few unread WeChat messages. She clicked it open and saw that it was full of notifications from the Sexy and Frisky WeChat group. Then, she suddenly remembered that she had asked in the group who played games before. She hurriedly entered the group. Expert of the monkeys, Sis Yao, I'll do it. Juice, me too. Expert of the monkeys, where is he? Juice became, Yao loves ice cream. Expert of the monkeys, defeated, Yao loves ice cream. After scrolling through the group chat, Shuryao suddenly popped up. Sorry, I wasn't looking at my phone earlier. Shi Yao was still a little angry at Lin Jiege, but upon recalling the 4 slices of cake, she couldn't help but send another message. I'm in a bad mood today. I met a lunatic. No one answered her. Shi Yao thought that everyone was probably busy. She put down her phone and was just about to wash an apple to eat when her phone suddenly rang. It was a notification from the Sexy and Frisky WeChat group. Shi Yao thought that it was Juice, or Expert of the Monkeys, who had popped up. She casually tapped on it and saw 111,111. What a coincidence, I met a lunatic today too. Chapter 25. 111,111. What a coincidence, I met a lunatic today too. Never in Shi Yao's wildest dreams could she have imagined that Mr. Numbers would respond to her message. She had known Mr. Numbers and the others for 2 days now, and they had played together for nearly 10 hours, but this was the first time he had spoken to her. Shi Yao stared at her phone screen in disbelief. It took her several times to confirm that she wasn't seeing things before she replied, what a coincidence. Shi Yao thought that this was the end of the conversation, but to her surprise, another message popped up on her phone screen. 111,111, on. It was just a single word, but Shi Yao could feel that it was extremely perfunctory. But if she didn't reply, the atmosphere in the group would probably turn a little awkward. Yet, she didn't know how she should respond to 111,111's message. She racked her brains for a moment, and she concluded that the lunatic must have some extraordinary skills to be able to make the reticent Mr. Numbers speak up. Thus, she typed on the keyboard and replied, but the lunatic you met must be even more of a lunatic than the one I met. Oh, intersection, oh, 111,111, didn't respond to her message anymore. Shi Yao heaved a sigh of relief. As expected of a god. Even talking to him required one to use one's brain. It was fortunate that he didn't speak anymore. However, even though less than 111,111 was ignoring Shi Yao, the atmosphere in the group didn't turn awkward, because Expert of the Monkeys appeared. Sis Yao, I'm playing duo with Juice right now, and I just got a message from you. Are you coming? It was still early, and there was still some time before bedtime. Since she didn't have any lessons tomorrow morning, she could still sleep in. Shi Yao quickly replied, sure, I'll log into the game now. As soon as Shi Yao logged into the game, a notification popped up on her screen. Juice invited her to join his party. As soon as Shi Yao entered, she heard Expert of the Monkeys' voice, boss, we're looking for a player in Team 4. Are you coming? 111,111, ignored the expert. Juice, boss, why don't we play a round or two? Expert of the Monkeys, that's right. It's still early. What else could we do? Shi Yao wasn't sure if it was just her imagination, but she felt that Expert of the Monkeys and Juice's tone tonight was a little different from usual. It was a little. Shi Yao racked her brain for a moment, but she couldn't think of a suitable word to describe it. 11111 seemed to have really been persuaded. Through the other end of the phone, Shi Yao could hear the sound of the game's login notification. Following which, less than 111,111 entered the party. It's Juice, started the game. On the plane, Shi Yao noticed that no one was planning on jumping off, so she asked, where should we jump? 10 seconds later, Expert of the Monkeys replied in a concise tone that was completely unlike his usual chatterbox persona, Pochinki. In the past, Expert of the Monkeys and Juice would always have endless things to say to each other, but today, their voice chat was eerily quiet. Every time the game started, the two of them would rush to say things like, Sis Yao, there's a medicine packet here, come and pick it up, and, Sis Yao, there's a level 3 armor here, come and pick it up. Chapter 26. So, her misconception earlier wasn't a misconception at all. Today's expert of the monkeys and Juice were really different from usual. Noticing that something was amiss, Xiao became much more taciturn. Compared to the previous 2 days, the game was much quieter. 11111 knocked out. I want to spend money lying down, with AWM. 111111 eliminated. Young man, wake up, with M416. 111111 eliminated. I am proud of Slacker, with Grenade Shard. 111111 eliminated. I want to spend money lying down, with Grenade Shard. 111111 eliminated in Safe Zone. In the third round, Xiao saw the same 5 messages pop up on the screen, and it was only then that she came to a realization. The one who's different today isn't Expert or Juice but Mr. Numbers. She knew that he'd always been strong in the game, but he'd never acted in such a manner before. Even if he had to poison himself to death, he'd still choose to kill everyone in the blue zone. Due to her earlier discovery, Xiao made sure to keep an eye on less than 111,111 when the 4th round began. But due to her absent-mindedness, she, who rarely turned into a crate upon landing, was smacked to death with a frying pan. Following which, Xiao switched over to less than 111,111's vision. Mr. Numbers wouldn't have noticed it if she hadn't been paying attention to him, but upon taking a closer look, Xiao was truly shocked. 111111 didn't even bother picking up his equipment upon landing. Instead, he picked up a gun and started looking for people to kill. While he was formidable in the game, he'd still choose to lay low at the start. But now, he wasn't even bothering to do so. What was even more bizarre was that he didn't even bother dodging when he clashed with others. He didn't use any techniques at all, choosing to face them head-on. 3 short minutes into the game, he had already single-handedly wiped out all of the enemies in the military base. After killing everyone, Xiao thought that 111,111 would pick up equipment to level up, but who could have thought that he would only pick up some bullets? Ignoring Juice and Expert of the Monkeys, who were furiously looting behind him, he found a motorcycle and left. He first went to Novorepnoy and slaughtered everyone in Novorepnoy in the same brutal and direct manner as he did earlier. After that, he sailed to Milta. By the time less than 111,111 reached Pochinki and was killed due to a lack of bullets, Xiao finally came to a realization. Mr. Numbers isn't playing the game for the sake of winning but for the sake of killing others. Although they were separated by a phone screen, she could still feel his strong murderous aura. So, he's in a bad mood today, and he's using a crazy massacre in the game to vent his bad mood. Expert of the Monkeys, Xiao, get ready. By the time Xiao recovered from her daze, she realized that the game had already come to an end. She hurriedly pressed the ready button, and then went over the words that the expert had just said in her heart, and only then did she regain her senses. Chapter 27. The 3 of them were in the same dormitory. Was it because 11111 was in a bad mood that the other 2 became more restrained? While Xiao's mind was wandering, the game began. Halfway through the flight, a call came in. It was a call from the Lin family's old mansion. Could it be that Grandpa Lin had found out that she was going to cancel her engagement with Lin Jiej, and he was calling to ask about it? Xiao hesitated for a moment before walking to the balcony of the dormitory room with her phone in hand and answering the call. Miss Shi, my apologies for calling you so late at night. It wasn't Grandpa Lin's voice that came through the phone. Instead, it was the voice of the butler of the Lin clan, Auntie Sunday. Xiao was quite fond of Auntie Sunday. Even though she didn't visit the Lin family's old mansion often, Auntie Sun would always prepare a lot of delicious delicacies for her. Xiao replied obediently, "It's fine. Auntie Sun, what's the matter for you to call me so late at night? That's right. Your Grandpa Lin suddenly fainted when he was taking a shower after dinner. He was just sent to the emergency room of the hospital. Fainted? Is the situation serious? Which hospital? I'll go there now. There's no need for that, Miss Sure. It's already so late, and the hospital is far from your school. The chauffeur isn't around either, so it's not safe for you to come here alone. Besides, it's not like there's no one guarding here. If you really wish to come, why don't you come tomorrow? I'll ask the chauffeur to pick you up. She wouldn't be of much help even if she went there. If she insisted on going, the Lin family's old mansion would definitely arrange for a car to pick her up. In this way, wouldn't it be troublesome? Shi Yao analyzed the situation for a moment before replying, all right then. I don't have any lessons tomorrow morning, so I'll go to the hospital to visit Grandpa Lin. Auntie Sun, then I'll have the driver pick you up from school tomorrow morning. Thank you, Auntie Sunday, it's all right. Auntie Sun paused for a moment, as if there was something she wanted to say. A moment later, she asked, Miss Shi, did you get into some sort of conflict with the young master? Shi Yao recalled the words that Lin Jiej had said to her in the forest. Now that Auntie Sun was asking her this, it must have something to do with the annulment of their engagement, right? Perhaps noticing that Shi Yao wasn't replying to her words, Auntie Sun spoke up once more. Your Grandpa Lin went out for a walk in a good mood this afternoon, but as soon as he returned, he flew into a rage and called the young master back. As soon as the young master entered, he didn't even have the chance to call out, Grandpa. Your Grandpa Lin grabbed a teacup and smashed it right in his face. You should know that your Grandpa Lin has a bad temper. So, when the young master returned, the entire house was thrown into chaos. In the end, your Grandpa Lin didn't even let the young master eat and chased him out of the house. There are some things that I haven't told you. Actually, your Grandpa Lin's health has deteriorated over the past 2 years. The doctor has warned me not to get angry. That's why your Grandpa Lin fainted tonight. Sigh, it's all because of the young master. Say, you're such a good lady, why doesn't the young master like you? At this point, Shi Yao didn't know how she should respond to Zhang Xian's words, so she chose to listen quietly. Auntie Sun chattered on the phone for a long time before the call finally ended. It was no wonder Lin Jiej was in such a bad mood. So that was the reason. Chapter 28. But she really hadn't gone to look for Grandpa Lin, so how did Grandpa Lin know that they were going to cancel their engagement? Shi Yao was perplexed for a moment before she remembered that she was still in the middle of a game, so she quickly entered it. Yet, when she entered, the game was already over. It was perfectly normal for her to die. She had gone to pick up a call, and after being thrown out of the plane, she would surely be discovered and shot to death while floating in the air. But those three shouldn't have died as soon as they landed. Shi Yao looked around and saw that Juice and Expert of the Monkeys were offline. On the other hand, 111,111 wasn't even in his room. Shi Yao switched to the Sexy and Frisky WeChat group, and sure enough, there was a new message. Expert of the Monkeys, Sis Yao, why did you disconnect? Juice sent, Yao loves ice cream. Shi Yao replied, I received a call just now, so I went to pick it up. Juice instantly replied, just like you, the boss received a call right after the game started. He picked it up and went out. Yao loves ice cream, oh. There sure were a lot of coincidences between her and Mr. Numbers today. She met a lunatic, and so did he. When she picked up a call, he also called, Expert of the Monkeys, Sis Yao, are you going to continue playing? Shi Yao took a look at the time and saw that it was already 10:30. She still had to head to the hospital the next morning, so she replied, "It's fine. I have something to do tomorrow morning, so I'll be heading to bed." Expert of the monkeys, all right then. Good night. Juice, good night. Tide, who hadn't appeared for the entire day, good night. Shi Yao replied with a good night, before exiting WeChat and heading to the bathroom. Lying on the bed, Shi Yao picked up her phone to set an alarm, and when she saw that Expert of the Monkeys had sent her a private message, "Sis Yao, if you're going to play tomorrow, let me know in advance." Shi Yao replied with a smiling emoji and added 2 words, "Sure." She paused for a moment, and recalling how stifling the atmosphere in the game was, she couldn't help but send another message, "What's wrong with you guys today? I feel like everyone is acting weird when we're playing the game." Expert of the Monkeys, oh, it's the boss. While we were playing basketball with him in the afternoon, he received a call and left the school. When he came back at night, he looked especially scary, so Juice and I had to be more well-behaved. Otherwise, we'd bring trouble upon ourselves. It'd be a loss if the boss refused to pay for our weekend dorm dinner. She was right. 11111 was in a bad mood. That was why the atmosphere in the game was so cold at night. Shi Yao suddenly recalled how Expert of the Monkeys had said that he was reading the messages sent by a girl before 111,111 spoke yesterday, so she casually asked, "Could it be that your boss has fallen out of love?" Expert of the Monkeys, you must be joking. Jilted. No such thing exists. Our boss doesn't even have a girlfriend. He's even more chaste than Xiaolong knew. That's not how you use the word pure and clean, young man. Shi Yao sent a full stop over to express her speechlessness. After which, she continued typing on the keyboard for a while longer. Xiaolong knew was tainted by Enjiping. Expert of the Monkeys, is that so? Expert of the Monkeys, forget it. In any case, there's no way our boss has fallen out of love. Let me tell you a secret, our boss is still a virgin even when he's 21. Chapter 29. Virgin Man. Even though the person on the other side of the phone didn't know who she was, Shi Yao still couldn't help but blush upon seeing those 2 words. Expert of the Monkeys had no idea what was happening on Shi Yao's side, and he was still sending her one WeChat message after another. Forget about being a virgin. Until now, boss hasn't even had a girlfriend. In other words, not only did our boss have his first night, but he also had his first love, first kiss, first hand-holding, first hug. Expert of the Monkeys seemed to be trying to recall which other firsts were there, but in the end, he couldn't think of any, so he sent another message. In any case, all the ones with firsts, our boss is still around. First hug, first hand-holding, first kiss, first night. Shi Yao's face reddened further as she looked at the explosive terms one after another. If he didn't have a girlfriend, then so be it. Why did Expert have to say so many dirty words to her? It was rare for Shi Yao to talk about such things with the opposite sex, so she didn't know how to reply to Expert of the Monkeys. In the end, she decided to just say, "It's getting late, so I'm going to sleep now. Bye-bye." However, Shi Yao didn't fall asleep immediately. She scrolled through her WeChat moments for a while and liked some of the photos of delicious food that her friends had posted late at night. She dawdled until 11:30 p.m. before returning to the WeChat message page. He saw the sexy and frisky WeChat group. It was only then that Shi Yao suddenly remembered that she had intended to browse through the homepage of less than 111,111 last night, but she was interrupted by the supper that he Tian brought back. After entering the homepage of less than 111,111 once more, Shi Yao couldn't help but feel a little awkward. The cover of the WeChat moments was pure black, and the profile picture was also pure black. The signature below was 222222. His photo album was empty, and there was only one message in his WeChat moments: 333333. Mr. Numbers really does like numbers, Sure Yao grumbled inwardly for a moment before she prepared to exit WeChat and head to bed. However, in a moment of carelessness, her fingertips accidentally touched the Add Friend button. She actually took the initiative to add the Almighty's WeChat. The next day, at 8:00 in the morning, the Lin family's chauffeur arrived punctually at the entrance of G University. By the time Zhang Xian arrived at the military hospital where Grandpa Lin was located, it was already close to 9 p.m. Auntie Sun had called in the morning to inform Shi Yao that she had arrived at the hospital, telling her that she would head downstairs to pick her up. Back then, Shi Yao had asked Auntie Sun for Grandpa Lin's ward number, so she didn't bother Auntie Sun when she arrived at the hospital and headed straight up. Lin Jiej had an elder sister named Lin Jai, and she was currently studying in the United States. Lin Jiej's parents had left for Hong Kong after the Spring Festival due to the Lin clan's business. However, Lin Jiej had 4 aunts, and there were many servants in the Lin family manor as well. She thought that the single room that the old master of the Lin family was staying in would be packed with people, but who could have thought that the moment she pushed open the door of the room and shouted, "Grandpa Lin," she froze on the spot. In the clean and the other than the bed Lin was the other person in the other than the other person. Yout. Lin. Chapter 30. Her earlier greeting of her Grandpa Lin had most likely alarmed him, causing him to reflexively turn his head to look at her. Meeting his gaze, Shi Yao subconsciously halted her footsteps in the midst of walking into the house. Fortunately, Grandpa Lin, who had also heard Shi Yao's voice, immediately spoke up, "Yao Yao, you're here. Hurry over." Shi Yao hurriedly retracted her gaze from Lin Jiej and smiled sweetly at Grandpa Lin. Then, carrying the supplements that she had bought at the supermarket earlier in the morning, she walked over to Grandpa Lin's bed. "Yao Yao, have you eaten breakfast? If not, I'll give Auntie Sun a call right now and have her cook something for you. Yao Yao, how have you been in school recently? Are there any students or teachers bullying you? If there are, feel free to tell me. I donate money to your school every year, and I'm very close with the principal. Yao Yao, is the food in the school canteen bad? You seem to have lost some weight since the Spring Festival. This won't do. It looks like I'll have to buy a window in your school canteen. You told Grandpa Lin that you prefer the food at Beijing World Restaurant. I'll have a chat with their head chef later and see if I can get him to cook for you in school." Seated on the sofa by the window, Lin Jiej couldn't help but frown as he listened to his grandfather's rambling. Yesterday, when he received a call that his grandfather had fainted, he rushed straight to the hospital in his slippers without even changing out of his slippers. He had stayed by his grandfather's bed for an entire night, and he hadn't slept a wink. Before she arrived, his grandfather had just woken up, and he had been worried for an entire night, so he had hurriedly called for a doctor. It was only after the doctor confirmed that his grandfather's condition had stabilized that he finally heaved a sigh of relief. Recalling that his grandfather hadn't eaten anything yet, he asked him what he wanted to eat. But before his grandfather could reply, she had already pushed open the door and entered. Then, as if he wasn't there, his grandfather pulled her to his side and began asking about her well-being. The doctor had instructed him to feed his grandfather something to eat after he woke up. Seeing that his grandfather wasn't looking at him, Lin Jiej asked once more, "Grandfather, what do you want to eat?" "Yao Yao, remember to come to Grandpa Lin's place when you have nothing to do. You won't be able to take care of yourself if you live alone in school." The frown on Lin Jiej's forehead deepened. He stared at his grandfather, who had turned a deaf ear to what he had just said. Then he raised his voice and said again, "Grandpa, the doctor said you have to eat something. What do you want to eat? I'll have my family send it over, whatever." This time, Before Lin Jiej could even finish his words, Grandpa Lin had already spoken up, seemingly displeased that his grandson had interrupted him, and with a displeased tone, he threw the word grandson at him. After which, without even sparing a glance at his grandson, Grandpa Lin turned to Shi Yao and spoke once more. Compared to the tone he had used with Lin Jiej earlier, his voice was much more amiable and affectionate. Yao Yao, whatever you want to buy or use, you must tell Grandpa Lin. Grandpa Lin will have Auntie's son buy it for you. Just who is your biological grandson here? Why didn't you tell me to have Auntie's son buy it for me if I want to buy or use anything? Barely after this thought flashed across Lin Jiej's mind, Grandpa Lin suddenly thought of something, and he turned to Lin Jiej and said, "Hey, when you call Auntie's son, remember to ask her to prepare a serving of coconut milk sago soup. Yao Yao loves it a lot." A second later, Grandpa Lin turned his gaze to Shi Yao and said, "Yao Yao, hello. Yao Yao. Doesn't he have a name? Must there be such a huge difference in treatment?" Furthermore, it wasn't easy for him to speak to him for so long, and it was all because of her. Chapter 31. Yao Yao, don't be upset. I've already reprimanded that brat, Lin Jiej, yesterday. If he dares to bully you again, feel free to tell Grandpa Lin. Grandpa Lin will stand up for you. Hearing those words, Lin Jiej's back couldn't help but tense up. The two of them had agreed to talk to Grandpa Lin about the annulment of their engagement first thing in the morning, but now that Grandpa Lin was sent to the hospital, she couldn't possibly still be bringing it up, could she? Lin Jiej pricked up his ears and held his breath for a moment. Only after Shi Yao changed the topic did he revert back to his usual leisurely attitude. In the ward, Grandpa Lin and Shi Yao were still conversing with one another. Lin Jiej was listening intently to their conversation. After sitting in the same position for too long, he was starting to feel a little uncomfortable. So, he shifted his body slightly and changed his posture. As a result, he happened to catch a glimpse of Shi Yao out of the corner of his eye. Lin Jiej would casually glance at Shi Yao from time to time, and in the end, unbeknownst to himself, his gaze had already landed on her. Perhaps it was due to his good genes, but ever since he was young, he had always been extremely picky. One must know that his elder sister was the #1 beauty in the circle of socialites in Beijing. Thus, ever since he was young, no matter which woman the people around him said was beautiful, he would always think that they were just a so-so. They were making a big fuss over nothing, but she, while it couldn't be said that the scene in the SPK elevator had taken his breath away. Nevertheless, it did leave an impression in his heart. Her face was small, and her eyes were large and bright. Her jet black hair didn't have any styling done, and it flowed smoothly behind her head. Unlike the girls in the academy who wore heavy or light makeup, her face was very clean. Her eyebrows were brows, and her eyes were eyes. It was the kind of natural beauty that made one feel comfortable just by looking at her. Her beauty was completely different from his elder sister's. Her beauty was on the sweet side, whereas his elder sister's beauty was on the bewitching side. If he had to compare the two of them together, he seemed to like them more. Like them more, it was hard to tell what Shi Yao said to Grandpa Lin, but Shi Yao's eyes suddenly curled up into a smile. There were even 2 faint dimples on her fair cheeks. Staring at the smiling young lady before him, Lin Jiej's conflicted mind suddenly cleared up. If he had to make a comparison between the two of them, it seemed like he preferred the soft bun who was uncouth, ugly, and shabby when she was younger. But then again, how could a person change so much? She really didn't look like this when she was young. Could it be that the Shi family had secretly changed their daughter all these years? After all, old Master Lin had been seriously ill. Although he seemed to be in good spirits when he woke up, he still felt tired very quickly. After Auntie's son arrived, he ate some food and went to sleep. Old Master Lin woke up when it was almost noon. After lunch, Auntie's son went downstairs to retrieve the medicine, leaving only Grandpa Lin, Shi Yao, and Lin Jiej in the room. Grandpa Lin shot a glance at Shi Yao, who had finished the fruit platter that Auntie's son had cut out for her, but she still looked a little unsatisfied. Then, without any hesitation, he turned to Lin Jiej and said, "Go and wash some fruits for Yao Yao." Chapter 32. In the next second, Shi Yao instinctively turned her gaze to the young man beside her. His shirt was slightly wrinkled, and his hair was messy. Most likely, he hadn't slept for an entire night in the hospital. But even so, his skin was still glowing. Seeing that Lin Jiej wasn't moving, Grandpa Lin hardened his tone, "Go." Shi Yao hurriedly reined in her thoughts. "Grandpa, I'll go myself. How can a girl wash fruits with her hands?" Before Shi Yao could finish her words, Grandpa Lin had already cut her off. Following which, he glared at Lin Jiej threateningly, "Are you going or not?" It wasn't that Grandpa Lin hadn't asked Lin Jiej to do something for her in the past, but he had never done so. For that, he had been reprimanded by Grandpa Lin many times. Grandpa Lin was still sick, and Auntie's son had told her last night that he shouldn't get angry in his current condition. Fearing that the two of them would get into a fight over her, Shi Yao hurriedly moved her lips. But before she could say anything, Lin Jiej, who was sitting leisurely on the sofa, suddenly stood up, picked up the fruits by the side, and walked into the washroom. Shi Yao was stunned. It was only when Lin Jiej passed the washed fruits over to her that she finally snapped out of her daze. She thanked him blankly, and just as she was about to take the fruits, Grandpa Lin spoke up once more, "Peel them." "How are you going to let Yao Yao eat them if you don't peel them?" "And no need." Just like before Shi Yao could finish her words, Lin Jiej had already picked up a fruit knife and began peeling the skin of an apple clumsily in front of the trash can. This. Is this still the Lin Jiej I know? In the past, putting aside washing fruits, he couldn't even be bothered to look at her. Not to mention, they even had such an unpleasant argument yesterday. Shi Yao stared blankly at the ugly, crooked fruit that Lin Jiej had peeled as she contemplated the situation in her mind. By the time Auntie's son returned to the ward with the medicine, Lin Jiej had just finished peeling the fruit. Putting down the fruit knife, he turned to Auntie's son and said, "Auntie's son, get the driver to pick me up now. I have something important to attend to at 2, so I have to make a trip to the research institute." When Shi Yao heard Lin Jiej's words, she took a look at the time and saw that it was already 1:10. She had a lesson at 2, so she said, "Grandpa Lin, I have a lesson later, so I'll be leaving too." Grandpa Lin replied to Shi Yao's words, "Let's hurry back to the academy then. Yao Yao, do you have any pocket money left?" As he asked, Grandpa Lin turned to Auntie's son and said, "Give the young mistress $1,000. While Auntie's son was taking out the money, Grandpa Lin suddenly remembered that the research institute Lin Jiej was heading to was in the opposite direction of G University. Both of them had matters to attend to at 2 p.m., so there was no way he could send Shi Yao off first. Without any hesitation, Grandpa Lin said, "Oh right, Auntie's son, get the chauffeur to send Yao Yao back to school." Following which, Grandpa Lin turned to Lin Jiej and said, "You can either take the subway, the bus, or a taxi," after which, Grandpa Lin turned to Auntie's son and said, "Give young master $100, have him find a way to get to the research institute himself." 1,000 yuan, 100 yuan, wasn't the difference too big? As it turned out, his grandson was picked up from the streets, but his granddaughter-in-law was his real granddaughter-in-law. 2 seconds later, Lin Jiej suddenly realized the words that had just flashed across his mind, and his body stiffened. Holy shit, GG granddaughter-in-law. Just what in the world was in his head? Chapter 33. Young Master. After handing Yao the money, Auntie Sun really took out a 100 yuan bill and walked over to Lin Jiege. Just that, before she could reach Lin Jiege's body shuddered upon hearing her voice, and in the next second, he turned around and walked away. As soon as Yao walked out of the hospital building, she saw Lin Jiege standing right in front of the building, looking at his phone with his head lowered. Her footsteps subconsciously came to a halt. The chauffeur, who had received Auntie Sun's call in advance, was already waiting in front of the building. Upon seeing Yao, he immediately got out of the car and opened the door. "Miss Shi, please get in." Lin Jiege was standing right beside the car. Perhaps hearing the chauffeur's words, he instinctively turned his head to look at Yao. Meeting his gaze, Yao's fingertips trembled slightly. As a result, her footsteps toward the car became a little unsteady after hearing the chauffeur's words. This was his chauffeur and car, and they had already come to an agreement to annul their engagement. She couldn't even be considered as his secret fiancée anymore. Back in the ward, she didn't mention that she was the one who proposed the marriage, not him, out of consideration for Grandpa Lin's health. Just as she was about to reach the car, Yao hesitated for a moment before turning to look at Lin Jiege. She was just about to speak up when she recalled that the chauffeur was still standing by the side. Thus, she turned her gaze to the chauffeur. The sharp-witted chauffeur instantly understood Yao's intentions, and he tactfully walked away. After confirming that the chauffeur was far enough away that he couldn't hear her voice, Yao turned to Lin Jiege and said softly, "About that, let's talk about annulling our engagement after Grandpa Lin recovers." Lin Jiege shot a glance at her and replied with an indifferent Yao could hear the displeasure in his tone. Afraid that he might have misunderstood her intentions and thought that she didn't want to annul their engagement, she quickly added, "I don't mean anything by it. I'm just worried that Grandpa Lin's condition might worsen." Perhaps it was her imagination, but after she explained herself, Lin Jiege's expression seemed even worse than before. Yao fell silent. Seeing that Lin Jiege didn't even reply with an she pursed her lips and said, "Well, why don't you get the chauffeur to send you to the research institute? I'll take the subway back to school." But before Yao could finish her words, Lin Jiege had already begun walking away, as if annoyed by her incessant chatter. It was only after his silhouette had disappeared from sight that Yao finally retracted her gaze. She was really naive. When she saw him cutting fruits in the hospital room, she was still in a daze. How could she have forgotten that Grandpa Lin was still sick? He probably did it because he didn't want Grandpa Lin to get angry again. Upstairs, in the ward. After Lin Jiege and Yao left, Grandpa Lin turned to Auntie Sun and asked, "How is my health?" "Auntie Sun, the doctor said that he's fine for the time being, and that he'll be under observation for a day. If he's fine, he can go home to recuperate." Auntie Sun had taken care of Grandpa Lin for many years now, and there were many things that she would nag at him out of habit. "Old master, you really have to change your temper. You can't get so angry. You're hurting your own health. It's not like I want to, but it's all because of that brat." Grandpa Lin sighed deeply before continuing, "Well, there's no hurry to go home to recuperate. I'll have to stay in the hospital for a while longer. You've already told the doctor to tell the young master that my condition is very serious, and that I'll die at any moment." Chapter 34. Pooey. "Old master, how can you say such inauspicious words?" Faced with Auntie Sun's criticism, Grandpa Lin didn't get angry at all. Instead, he clutched his chest and feigned discomfort. "Look at me. Don't I look like I'm seriously ill?" "Auntie Sun, it's all thanks to your wits that you only called the two of them last night. The others are busy, so I tried my best not to harass them. Otherwise, I'd have to pretend to be seriously ill when they come to the hospital." Grandpa Lin continued talking for a while longer, but seeing that Andy Sun was busy packing her things and ignoring him, he fell silent. He leaned against the headboard of the bed and slowly took a sip of the goji berry tea that Andy Sun had passed to him. Then, as if he couldn't figure out what was going on, he asked in bewilderment, "Say, it's already been so many years, and that brat hasn't made a fuss about not marrying Yao Yao. Why is he making a fuss now? Also, where else can I find such a good child like Yao Yao? Why is he so ungrateful? I really wonder whose genes he inherited from. This won't do. I have to think of another way. I can't stay in the hospital all the time. Perhaps I should hide in Hainan for a while." Actually, there was nothing wrong with what she said. Why did he feel so irritated? Also, that car belonged to his family. She offered it to him, so why was he in such a hurry to leave? Leaning against the back of the cab, Lin Jiej recalled the words that Shi Yao had said to him at the entrance of the hospital, and a deep frown appeared on his forehead. He pondered over the reason, and the more he thought about it, the more irritated he felt. Having not slept for the entire night, he decided to close his eyes and catch up on his sleep. The road conditions weren't good, and it was a little congested. The cab would stop from time to time, making it impossible for Lin Jiej to fall asleep. He had no idea how far the cab had traveled, but he slowly opened his eyes to look at the dazzling sunlight outside the window. Suddenly, the image of her smiling at his grandfather at the hospital flashed across his mind once more. What a youthful and pleasing sight. This thought only lingered in Lin Jiej's mind for a few minutes before he suddenly recalled how she had retorted angrily at him in the forest near the school. "Be careful, or you'll starve to death." He had seen all kinds of curses, but this one was really strange. "Since you already have a girlfriend, why are you still maintaining this boring relationship with me?" "Ha, boring." He took out his phone and tapped into Xia Shangzhou's WeChat. Why would anyone say that I have a girlfriend? He was in the same university as her. For her to say something like that, she must have heard some rumors about him, right? Xia Shangzhou instantly replied, "Boss, I don't know." Lin Jiej thought, "Are you sure?" However, he was too lazy to do so. He tapped on the screen and sent a ? Over. Chapter 35. Lin Jiej didn't reply to Xia Shangzhou's message. Instead, he pressed on the lock button and closed his eyes to rest. Not too long later, the taxi arrived at the research institute. He paid the fee, got out of the car, and walked into the research institute. Barely after he sat down, his phone vibrated. It was Xia Shangzhou who had replied. Even through the screen, Lin Jiej could feel the other party's astonishment. "Boss, I've finally found the reason. The problem lies in the school forum. It's a thread regarding the campus belle selection. An insider revealed that you're together with Belle Qin. As for the details, you should take a look at the thread yourself." The final message that Xia Shangzhou sent was a link. Lin Jiej tapped on it, and the first thing he saw was a photo of a young lady. He didn't recognize who it was until he saw the name at the bottom of the photo. Oh, it's Qin Iran, but wasn't student Qin married to a Photoshop? Wasn't the Photoshop a little too different from how she looked in real life? Just like that, she was crowned as the campus belle by the male students of G University. And for 3 consecutive years at that. She wasn't even as good-looking as that tacky, ugly, and shabby soft bun. What a bunch of ignorant men, how pitiful. Lin Jiej pitied the male students as he scrolled down his phone screen. When he saw a candidate with a higher support rate than Qin Iran, he instinctively froze. Yo, it seems like not everyone is blind. Yo, not everyone was blind. There was still someone with a higher support rate than that Qin something, higher my ass. Why would his photo appear here? Why would a man like him appear in the campus belle selection? G University's most beautiful campus belle. I'll vote for Lin Jiej, a third-year student from the math faculty. Vote your head. And OP 66666. 6 your head. According to an insider, Bell Chin and Adonis Lin are together, so the girlfriend that Soft Bun is referring to is Chin Iran. Please, even if it's just a scandal, can't you give me a better girlfriend? I can prove that this news is true. Adonis Lin, who everyone wants to sleep with but can't sleep with, accepted Bell Chin's gift. Look, Adonis Lin and Bell Chin showing off in a restaurant on Valentine's Day. Lin Jiej had been leisurely browsing through the forums a moment ago, but when he saw the news, his face immediately turned cold. He wasn't stupid. Others might be watching the gossip, but as the person involved, he knew that he had been set up. Chin Iran's gift might have been sincere, but there was also an ulterior motive to it. She obviously knew that they were going to talk business in the cafeteria on Valentine's Day, so she asked someone to send him a gift a day in advance. Her step-by-step plan was really ingenious. It made the whole school think that they were together. He had accepted being forced to have a fiancé, but now he was forced to have a girlfriend. This was really unbearable. Lin Jiej casually tossed his phone onto the table, and the aura he was emanating grew even colder. At night, it was already 9:00 when he returned to the dormitory from the study room. Shi Yao casually tossed her textbook onto the table and searched for her phone, which she had intentionally left in the dormitory so that she wouldn't bring it to the study room. Chapter 36. Half a minute later, someone finally responded to her. Juice, Sis Yao, I'm afraid that we won't be able to play tonight. Expert and I were called out by the professor to do manual labor, woo. Expert of the monkeys, I'm really sorry, Sis Yao. I'll bring you out to play tomorrow. Yao loves ice cream, it's fine, you guys go ahead. Expert of the monkeys, and Juice, probably really had something important to do, so they replied to Shi Yao with an emoji each before disappearing from the group. Shi Yao switched back into the game and played 2 rounds alone. While she didn't die the moment she landed, she didn't survive too long in the game either. After finishing the second round, Shi Yao thought that it would be better for her to play solo queue for the next round. But when she returned to the main hall, before she could even select a match mode, someone had already entered her room. It was 111,111. Did Mr. Numbers accidentally tap into her room after seeing the room she had shared in the group, or? Shi Yao waited for a moment, but didn't see any signs of 111,111 leaving the room. Did Mr. Numbers accidentally tap into her room and feel too embarrassed to leave? Just as Shi Yao was wondering if she should find an excuse to give Mr. Numbers a way out of this embarrassing situation, a message suddenly appeared on the game page. 111,111, : What does that mean? Is he asking me why I'm not starting the game? Perhaps it was because she didn't reply for a long time. Less than 111,111 sent another message. Is he urging me to start the game? Hoping to give it a try, Shi Yao asked meekly, do you want to start? 111,111 still didn't reply. Instead, he chose to type, yes. Isn't this a little too cold? To actually use punctuation to represent my meaning. It's fortunate that I'm smart. What would I do if someone else were dumb? With this thought in mind, Shi Yao tapped on the game button. On the other end of the game, Lin Jiej, who was guarding his grandfather's ward, was absent-mindedly stroking his screen as he thought to himself. It's no wonder this girl, who Xie Shangzhou had pulled into his team, is so bad at the game. She's either lying in the grass or shivering in fear. It turns out that there's something wrong with her head. He's definitely here to play, so why is she asking him if he wants to start? Shi Yao thought that with 111,111, around, she would definitely be able to get the chicken dinner off her back. In the end, she got the chicken without doing anything, but she had even less of a gaming experience. When she was playing alone, she would find a place with fewer people to jump into. Even if she died on the ground, she would still be able to survive for a while. But 11111 was different. He would always jump where there were the most people. Previously, with Juice and Expert around to protect her, she could still be alive. However, 111,111 obviously treated her as if she didn't exist. He went on a killing spree and displayed all sorts of extreme moves, leaving her pitiful as she was beaten to death. However, in the fourth round, 11111 seemed to have gotten tired of parachuting in crowded areas, so he started to take another extreme route, jumping wherever there was no one. For the next few rounds, even though 111,111 left her to her own devices, due to the fact that there was no one around her, she didn't die again. Every single time, she was able to follow behind 111,111 into the final circle. After the game was over, Lin Jiej took a shower before lying on the bed in the ward. He picked up his phone and took a look at his WeChat. There were a few unread messages, but they were all unimportant. There was a new notification on his communicator. Tapping on it, he saw that Yao Loves Ice Cream had sent him a friend request. Chapter 37. A new notification popped up. Tapping into it, he saw that it was a friend request from Yao Loves Ice Cream. Xia Shangzhou thought that this young lady with a beautiful voice, but he thought that there was something wrong with her brain, had actually taken the initiative to add him on WeChat. His phone number in the student union wasn't a secret. While it wasn't to say that every student in the school knew his number, it wasn't too difficult for those who were interested to obtain his number. As a result, he received harassing messages and calls almost every day for the 365 days of the year. So, when he registered for WeChat, he made sure to use a number that no one knew of. As such, other than those who were really close to him, there was basically no one who knew his WeChat account. And this young lady, he didn't know who she was, and she didn't know who he was either. They were just acquaintances in the game, so even if they were to add each other on WeChat, it wouldn't cause too much trouble for him. Besides, staring at his phone screen, he hesitated for a moment before finally tapping on accept. Besides, just as Xia Shangzhou had said, this young lady's voice was indeed not too bad. After ending the game with less than 111,111, Shurya put down her phone and carried a change of underwear to the bathroom. After taking a bath, she blow-dried her hair and did a simple skincare routine. Then, she opened the cupboard and took out a ham sausage and a bag of potato chips. After eating them, she brushed her teeth and climbed onto the bed. Before sleeping, Shurya habitually played with her phone for a while. So, when she picked up her phone and saw that there was a new notification on WeChat, she tapped on it without any hesitation. What she saw was a message from less than 111,111. It was a message from the system: "You've added 111111. You can start chatting now." It was purely due to her trembling hand that she accidentally added him on WeChat yesterday. It had already been a day and a night, but he still hadn't accepted her request. She thought that the cold and venomous Mr. Numbers wouldn't accept her request at all, but who could have thought that he would actually accept her friend request, should she reply to his message right now? Although he was not as meticulous as Expert and Juice, he was still a big part of the team that carried her without getting a chicken dinner. A wise man submits to circumstances. When it's time to hug someone's thigh, I should hug it tightly. Shuyao pondered for a moment before typing. After accepting Yao Loves Ice Cream's friend request, Lin Jiej, who hadn't slept the entire night, felt a little tired. He put down his phone and prepared to sleep. Just as he was about to fall asleep, the phone screen beside his ear lit up. He closed his eyes, reached for his phone, and raised it to his eyes. Tapping into WeChat, he saw that Yao Loves Ice Cream had sent him a message. God, thank you for playing with me tonight. Lin Jiej had no intention of replying to Yao Loves Ice Cream's message. In fact, he didn't even bother checking their chat page. Instead, he tossed his phone aside and went back to sleep. But before the phone left his hand, it vibrated again. Yao Loves Ice Cream sent him another message. Guru, my hand shook yesterday and I accidentally added you as a friend. I hope I didn't disturb you. Chapter 38. Hand trembling, add by mistake. Lin Jiej was initially drowsy, but upon seeing Yao Loves Ice Cream's second message, he immediately woke up. She didn't add him voluntarily but added him by mistake. Just as this thought flashed across Lin Jiej's mind, Yao Loves Ice Cream sent him another message, a cute emoji. Cute your head. Lin Jiej wasn't intending to reply to Yao Loves Ice Cream's message, but he couldn't help but tap on the screen. After sending 3 messages consecutively, Sure Yao thought that 111,111 would ignore her, so she was just about to close WeChat when a message suddenly popped up on her screen. 111,111, what a coincidence. What a coincidence. What does Mr. Numbers mean by this? Sure Yao first sent a confused emoji over before tapping on the keyboard. She wanted to ask 111,111 what a coincidence it was, but before she could even type a single word, 111111 had already replied to her message. My hand trembled, so I added you by mistake. Is the god serious, or is he telling a cold joke? Sure Yao typed an awkward word that went well with any message and tapped on the send button. Then, in front of the awkward word that she sent, there was a big red exclamation mark. Following that was a system notification. 111111 has activated the friend verification. You are not her friend yet. Please send a friend verification request first. You may only chat after the other party has verified your identity. Sure Yao stared at her phone screen in a daze for 3 whole seconds before she finally came to her senses. Mr. Numbers had deleted her from his friend list. Did he really add her by mistake because his hand trembled, and after realizing his mistake, he corrected it? Sure Yao looked through her entire chat history with less than 111,111, and after which, she stared at the 2 words less than 111,111 had sent her, accidentally added me because of a trembling hand. For a long while, she finally realized what was going on. Mr. Numbers wasn't being serious, and he wasn't cracking a cold joke either. He was mocking her. She couldn't tell that 111,111 was not only venomous, vengeful, and unforgiving, but he was also a tsundere as well. Wasn't she just telling the truth? He actually ruthlessly mocked her and deleted her from his friend list without hesitation. Sure Yao's lips twitched. You make it sound as if I really want to add him as a friend. Although she had to hug someone's thigh tightly when she needed to, she didn't just hug everyone's thigh, okay? For example, if she had the chance, she would still want to hug her idol, Legend. With such thoughts in mind, Sure Yao exited WeChat and went to Legend's forum to fool around. There, she saw a piece of news that made her heart race. AE team will be having a friendly match with CLEG team on the 5th of next month, and the venue will be Beijing. Beijing, and it's the weekend. She had been a fan of her idol for so many years, but she had never been to a live match of his. Even if it was a friendly match, she had no reason not to go since it was right at her doorstep. After all, there were so many girls who wanted to add him on WeChat. She actually added him by mistake because her hand shook. Hee hee, After deleting, Yao loves ice cream, without any hesitation, Lin Jiej sneered coldly in his heart. He pulled up his blanket and closed his eyes to sleep. After about 3 minutes, he turned over. Chapter 39. Lin Jiej had no idea how long he had been tossing and turning on the bed, but his grandfather, who was lying on the bed beside him, also did the same. Has my grandfather been woken up by my actions? Lin Jiej didn't dare to move anymore, but the frustration in his heart only intensified. He opened his eyes and stared at the phone by his pillow for a moment before subconsciously reaching his hand out toward it. But halfway through, he suddenly realized what he was doing and hurriedly retracted his hand. Lin Jiej stared at the ceiling for a while longer, and the more he stared, the more frustrated he felt. Eventually, he decided to pull the blanket over his head. He lay motionlessly under the pitch-black blanket for a very long time, but he still couldn't fall asleep. Eventually, in frustration, he yanked the blanket off and sat up. He picked up his phone and took a look at his WeChat. His contact list was clean, and there were no new notifications. She actually didn't add him after I deleted her from my friend list. Lin Jiej's fingers tapped on the back of his phone rhythmically, and roughly half a minute later, he entered the sexy and frisky WeChat group. He stared at the words, Yao loves ice cream, for a very long time before his finger finally landed on the screen and tapped on the Add Friend button. As he and Yao loves ice cream had already added each other as friends, and he was the one who deleted her, after he sent the request, there was no need for her to verify his identity. Thus, the two of them became friends once more. It was already 1 a.m, and there was no response from her after he added her as a friend. She must have fallen asleep. The sleepy Lin Jiej suddenly felt invigorated. After hesitating for 2 seconds, Lin Jiej tapped on Yao loves ice cream's profile picture. After zooming in, Lin Jiej realized that the colorful picture was actually a platter of all kinds of fruits. Lin Jiej pondered for a moment before entering Yao loves ice cream's moments page. The first thing he saw was a picture of a row of colorful ice creams. Lin Jiej fell silent for a moment before he glanced at Yao loves ice cream's signature below her profile picture. A young girl's passion is always for food. And it's actually related to food. Lin Jiej swiped down the screen and looked at Yao loves ice cream's moments page. February 14th, only good food can't be let down. Accompanying picture was a row of cakes. February 7th, life is all about eating, eating, eating. Lin Jiej recognized the 9-grid diagram. It was the Beijing World Hotel's buffet. February 1st, it's good to be a foodie. You'll forget everything as you eat. The 4 accompanying pictures were snacks, egg fried rice, hot and sour noodles. January 24th, if you survive a disaster, there will be a pot of porridge. Accompanying picture is a pot of seafood porridge. January 20th, the thing worse than sadness is a broken stomach. The picture was a glass of milk, 2 slices of bread, and a large plate of fruit salad. What kind of weird circle of friends had he entered? Why are they all food? Lin Jiej scrolled down until it was August 2017, and he finally saw a Moment Circle post that consisted purely of words without any accompanying pictures. He read it carefully. The content was, the 3 sentences that touch me the most: take you to eat delicious food, treat you to eat delicious food, bring you delicious food. Chapter 40. It's actually related to food. He couldn't be dreaming, right? With this thought in mind, Lin Jiej exited from Yao loves ice cream and tapped into his older sister's Moments page. Finally bought it. The accompanying picture is a Hermes bag. The color of the lip gloss isn't too bad. The accompanying picture is a row of MAC lipsticks. The weather is great, so I came out for a stroll. The accompanying picture is my older sister's selfie. If we meet again many years later, I'll wish you well. But you and I won't even have the chance to meet again. The 4th year you've left. This is what a normal girl should have on her moments page. It's nothing like that retarded young lady who only knows how to eat. Her style is so fresh and unique that it leaves one speechless, fresh and unique. For some reason, Lin Jiej felt a little familiar with this word. He frowned as he recalled how Soft Bun had warned him to be careful of starving to death on the way to the research institute in the afternoon. He seemed to have used the same word to describe her. Overcome by drowsiness, Lin Jiej put down his phone and closed his eyes. How weird. Why would he suddenly think of Shi Yao when he was looking at Yao Loves Ice Cream's moments page? In his half-asleep state, he hazily thought that given how much Yao Loves Ice Cream eats, she's probably a fatty, right? The next afternoon was G University's anniversary celebration. G University was one of the top universities in the country, and it had no lack of talented students. Thus, the program for the anniversary celebration was filled with great performances. By the time the anniversary celebration ended, it was already 5:30 in the afternoon. Shi Yao thought that it was finally time to head to the canteen for dinner, but before she could stand up, the MC on the stage spoke up once more. Students, don't be in such a hurry to leave. We've prepared an Easter egg for everyone for the anniversary celebration. Next, let's welcome the organizers of the event, Lin Jiej from the mathematics faculty and Qin Iran from the art faculty. Qin Iran seemed to have expected this scene. The moment the MC finished speaking, she stood up from her seat and walked toward the stage with a faint smile on her face. Qin Iran was usually a beautiful sight on the campus, and today, she had put in a lot of effort to dress up, making her look even more stunning. Many male students below the stage were clapping wildly for her. Seated in the first row, Lin Jiej frowned slightly. Only when the person next to him urged him did he stand up and walk onto the stage. His expression wasn't good, but it didn't affect his attractiveness at all, causing many girls below the stage to scream crazily. The host waited for them to stand properly before continuing. Students Lin and Qin, please say hello to the students below the stage. Qin Iran shot a glance at Lin Jiej, and seeing that he wasn't intending to speak up, she took the initiative to introduce herself with a smile. Hello everyone, I'm Qin Iran. The MC looked at Lin Jiej, but Lin Jiej didn't say a word. Thus, the MC could only ask once more, where is student Lin? Faced with the host's question, Lin Jiej calmly nodded to the crowd beneath the stage as a form of self-introduction. The supporter was tactful enough not to force Lin Jiej to speak. Instead, he continued, Student Lin and Student Qin are two of the most influential figures in the academy, so everyone is especially curious about the two of them. Today, our Easter egg is to ask the two of them a few questions on behalf of the crowd. The first question is, between the two of you, who came up with more ideas in this school anniversary event? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.